except it's okay to say it started when mom had a play. It's one more kid than she thought she would. It was anything but playing Brotherhood. Go! Play Brotherhood! Play Brotherhood! Nick are out of control. They would crash the airwaves with a microphone. So sit down tight and listen close. All the ladies now take off your clothes.
Hi, everybody. This week we were joined by our Aunt Lori from episode 20, The Perfect Family, and by our Uncle Tracy from episode 30, The Perfect Family Volume 2. Enjoy.
Well, I think like any good family, we should always start anything with a prayer.
With a prayer.
Are you willing to do this?
The woman can't lead in prayer.
Oh, darn! Where's my head
right.
covering?
Yeah, you need a head
exactly.
covering.
No.
Oh,
Wait,
never
do we
mind.
know, just to explain, as Jehovah's Witnesses, a prayer to begin and end every meeting of
Or book
witnesses.
study.
Right.
Or, yeah. And so it was always a man to do it.
Always.
Not necessarily an elder, but a brother within the congregation.
Mm-hmm.
If for any reason there was no men available, like
Which
at book study
I've never
or
seen
meeting
that
for
happen.
service,
Mm-hmm.
then a woman could do it, but only if there was a head covering.
Yes.
That must link to the Bible in some obscure way.
Yeah, I think
must,
there was
because-
maybe one obscure reference to it.
Yeah. Something that was misinterpreted,
And
perhaps.
in the Jewish faith, it's the men that wear the head covers.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where the sisters in the congregation trying to follow the rules actually ended up mocking it by like just taking a napkin out of their purse and throwing it on their head.
It's
Well,
still
then they had to
technically-
refine the rule and make it appropriate head covering,
What-
like something that really went on your head.
In
They
what
love to define
circumstances?
rules.
In what circumstances did that happen? I never saw that happen.
Oh, like if you met for field service,
Which is going door to door.
right? And so they meet every day. And in the event that happened quite often, there wasn't a man in the congregation that met that day. Let's say there was 7 or 8 women, and you always had to say a prayer before you left, and a woman took on the role of a brother. That's when that would happen. So PJ,
So
if
she
you
puts
never
on
went
a
out
fake
and served-
mustache. And,
Here's what I want to know: if
gets
Jehovah,
the dildo out of her purse.
if Jehovah,
Got my
is,
penis, I can pray.
if Jehovah is offended by women's hair, why didn't he just make them bald?
No, but see,
he
hair
made you
was-
bald from the looks of it.
Women, it was a travesty for women to cut their hair
but-
back in the day.
I still have a question though. What about like one-on-one Bible studies? Like my
Okay.
mom would have them.
No, now see, that's an interesting thing. If I was a woman conducting a free home Bible study in the home of another person, no, I wouldn't have to cover my head. But if I took a brother with me and I wanted to conduct that study in his presence, I'd have to cover my head. Now try to explain that to somebody that you're trying to
they already think
persuade.
you're weird. You're a Jehovah's
yeah.
Witness.
As a woman, and now as a lesbian, like what did you ever see in the religion in the first place?
I don't know.
Because women have it so much harder than the men
I
in that
know.
congregation.
I don't know. That was a rule I never followed.
Oh, the head covering?
Yeah.
It seems so silly in our
You know what?
I
If
never
I
even
can't
knew it.
explain
Yeah.
it, if I can't explain it, that means I really don't understand it.
Uh-huh.
And if I don't understand it, I'm not going to do it.
Uh-huh.
So I never did it.
So you understood everything else? I mean, you had
Well, I could
rationalized?
rationalize it, make it logical in my head, but that one just never flew with me. Didn't get it. Didn't get it.
That's why
like
Mom
God
never
was
said
really
the
going to
prayer
matter,
at home.
or God was really going to care, and it was going to matter whether or not I had a scarf over my head.
Yeah.
And if I didn't, it was going to invalidate everything I had done that day.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't explain it because I didn't understand it. Therefore, I never followed it.
And to me, that just
Kinda
shows
like
God
fidelity.
to be a petty asshole.
Yeah.
Okay, nobody just heard my funny.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was paying attention to Tracy's
I
funny.
don't like fidelity.
I stepped
It
all
was
over
good.
it. I'm sorry.
And hers was better, Tracy. Let's be
Sorry.
fair.
I hate missing
Pay
jokes.
attention. I know. If I can't explain it, if I don't understand, I can't explain it.
Just
Kinda like
unplug my
fidelity.
mic. Am I forgiven?
Yes, you're
Say
forgiven.
a prayer for me. I got a napkin for your head.
Jehovah
Yeah.
God, our Heavenly
Okay.
Father, we come to you now, and oh my God, I haven't said those words forever.
So it was a planned prayer every time, or did you change it up a little?
What?
Whenever you did a prayer.
You're supposed
Oh no,
to
you're
change
supposed
it.
to change it up
I never did.
because you're not supposed to say the same thing over. Hello, the Book of Matthew.
I'd always say
You're not supposed to say the same thing over. Matthew 6.
I used to say kind of the same thing at the
Or
beginning
9.
and then the end. There are things you're supposed to say every
You're
time.
always supposed to open to Jehovah, and you're always supposed to end through the name of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
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 So, can you give us a real example of a prayer? I don't mean to put you on the spot.
well,
Boy,
what
that makes me nervous.
What kind of
You were
prayer,
just
though?
on stage in front of 300 people last
Yeah.
night.
I
yeah,
know.
yeah, and we'll get to
I
that.
know.
But first, I want to hear
All
this
right.
prayer.
But what kind of prayer? Is this like to open a meeting, or is this a prayer like
Well, I
I'm
guess it
praying
would
for
depend
my
on the
sins?
situation. If it's before a meal,
Okay.
obviously,
Yeah.
and
Let's hear a
not
meal.
every prayer.
Let's imagine there's some chicken cutlets out here right now.
Right. Well, then you would open your prayer to Jehovah, and then you would thank Him for the food and for your day of life. You know what it really does? You use the Lord's Prayer as a rubric. There's our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. So that's where Jehovah, we, honor your name, whatever. Let thy kingdom come. We hope. And so you work in your own words that his plan for the world comes to fruition eventually. And then, we are sinners every day and we pray for your forgiveness. And I mean, you don't have to do all of those bullets in every single prayer,
Right.
but you can way personalize them if you want, but in a group setting, you don't normally personalize.
I can remember being a kid, like when I first learned the prayer structure and how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like automatic voicemail to God, right? Because you're doing it in Jesus' name, you're hitting all those bullets,
Right.
And then, but I think back on it, and I would pray for like petty shit, like Weird Al's Polka Party on cassette.
Really?
But I would say it in Jesus' name. Like, does he hear those prayers?
Kinda
Assuming
like the
God's
Christmas
real.
list.
If you're praying right, someone told me once that if you can count the number of times you pray a day on one hand, then you're not doing it enough.
I'm jerk off joke.
Yeah. Well, if I prayed after
And
every
I hope
time.
that you pray to God to stop that.
There was a
That
time.
would be a personal prayer.
There was a time where after every time I did pray about it.
After every
you
time
masturbated?
Really?
Yeah. I had
felt so guilty.
major guilt issues too, because there are chapters devoted to why it's wrong and why God is
Could you
disapproving of
imagine
it.
going to the elders with that problem?
I'm sure
And
some
how
people.
Yeah.
But how can any of them sit in good conscience and say, "Young man, that's a sin"?
Well, a
They
lot
don't
of
have good conscience. They're lying
no,
bastards.
there's probably not a single man in the world that hasn't or isn't.
yeah, and a lot of what pisses me off is what I would see growing up in that religion is people would come in like they would. We mentioned service and going door to door. So somebody becomes a Jehovah's Witness because somebody approached them at the door and they
Right.
bought into it.
Right.
So that person has had a whole life not being a Jehovah's Witness.
Right.
So it's easy for them to become an elder, discovering the truth as an adult. The truth, I say.
I know.
But then, so you can go to them and say, "Oh, I've been jerking off. Is God gonna send me to hell?" Which we all know is the common grave. But they've been able to do it without any guilt because now they've come into
Right.
it later. They had the decision. You see what I'm saying? We were born into it. That's way
Right.
different.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They made a conscientious
But
decision.
they're also still masturbating. I can see where you're coming from at a point where like, oh, they got to like have a bunch of premarital sex and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Lucky
now-
bastards.
I guess that's more what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
without any guilt.
Everyone's masturbating. I think like feel guilty
right now.
whatever you're thinking about while you are, like that's what you
I
should have
wondered
to
what
feel
that
guilty
was. I
about.
just
That's what you
couldn't
should have
see
to
it.
answer for. Everyone got that?
I got
I'm
it.
sorry. I missed that.
What you're jerking off to, that's what you should answer for.
Right.
Like if it's something bad, then
Yeah, I mean,
take
if-
that up with God.
yeah.
Pray about that.
What do you
Right.
mean by something bad?
Like if
What are
you're
you
jerking
jerking
off
off
thinking
to?
about animals or killing
Or-
somebody or something like that.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
porn
Okay. I
or
mean-
something.
I miss Barry.
That's our Uncle Barry, your brother Barry.
Youngest brother. Do you miss Barry? Because you have the opportunity to follow him on Twitter. He follows you
Oh,
on
I
Twitter.
do, don't I?
Yeah.
I think how do you get off of Twitter?
I think you can block people if you really wanted.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can block them, but not if you're not following. Yeah, I could block them, but
So that
I want him to follow me, knowing that I refuse to follow him, just
Yeah.
to see how many things he posts.
PJ and I noticed that. Are you familiar with Twitter at all, Lori?
No, I've never heard it until you guys showed up.
It's
This weekend.
basically a
and
social.
never stop talking about it. since we've been here.
It's a social networking site, much like MySpace and Facebook, but it's much more minimalized. Like it's 140 it's microblogging. So Tracy's a part of it now, and you can follow people's blogs or choose not to. And me and PJ noticed when Tracy had joined Twitter that Barry, who's also on Twitter, was following Tracy, but Tracy wasn't following him back.
Yeah.
And we instantly had a lot more respect for you.
Jay, have you heard about Twitter? You have?
This is Janine. She's off mic, but not for long. Teaser.
No, she's not. That's my girl.
She's waiting in the wings, not up in the light box.
She's our bartender.
But the other thing about Twitter is it's like really great at people's goal is to get followers. Like these many people are watching what I have to say.
And I think it's been huge for the show, quite honestly.
Yeah. So everyone pays attention to how many followers they have, and Barry is just wondering why isn't Tracy following me back? Because he keeps doing these @ replies where he's responding to something Tracy has posted on there, and he keeps sending those to Tracy, hoping that he'll be like.
It totally sounds like technological stalking to me.
Oh, it's. I was telling Tracy on our drive here yesterday. It's very jerking yourself off, self-congratulatory. You know what I mean?
For some.
Me,
I don't think that's what Twitter is. It's a way to put on a show. Really, you can develop characters on Twitter and just put weird shit out there.
Yeah,
it is for me. I mean, like when I had that coffee shop, I always had people I could bounce stuff off of. Now the work I do, I don't get to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
So now if I have a rant go through my head or read
one-liner
one of their tweets and have a perfect one-liner to go for it, I can respond to it and put it out there. And that's what makes
Tracy's
it fun.
My favorite Twitter from Tracy was a little while ago when we had posted an episode and we had to take it down because I left a big thing in there. And Nick posted a Twitter that said, we took it down. It'll be back up. We have to fix something. And Tracy said, did you forget to make an Urkel? Fuck.
Yeah.
Did you forget to make an Urkel reference?
Why didn't you let Tracy do the joke?
I know.
It was his joke.
I was like, I can tell it even better than Tracy. But yeah, that's a perfect example of Twitter.
And that's it. Just makes it fun that way. I like going on Twitter knowing that I'm going to get a laugh out of it.
Yeah.
I don't want to learn anything from it other than who to follow.
Yeah.
But I
tried to help you on that.
I just want to laugh, and that's perfect. Plus, I'm sure people know by now, Nick is clever with taglines and just really off the
I think it's
wall
fair to say everybody
crap.
knows that. Yeah.
Email subjects. Nick is quite prolific at email subjects. Right? Didn't you used to get like a weekly email from Nick that always had a funny little...
Yeah, the sometimes...
Those used to really bother
quite often
me about
the subject
Nick.
line was
Did I do that to you? It seems like I would have known better than to do it to you.
I would just see you write emails and I'd be
I'm
like,
gonna tell you...
you're so arrogant.
I'll tell you a secret, Tracy. Most of the time, my clever subject lines for the emails I would send you is I just don't like to leave a subject line blank, and I don't like to make it, hey, So instead, I would put something... Whether it's interesting or not, at least it's not what you're expecting. But most of the time, I would, whatever I was listening to, because I'm listening to iTunes a lot at work all day, so I would just take a lyric from that song and put it in the title. But sometimes it applied to the email. It just depended on what I was sending.
Oh, now I'm just disappointed.
I know.
Okay, fine.
Sometimes it really did. In fact, I can think of a specific time when let me just tell you the time, and then you can tell me how it is. You were writing me something about a girlfriend who was like fucking you over at the time, like that.
Oh, that sounds very familiar.
You were sending me emails, and then like in the one where you were like, where it was going to be everything that happened, the subject line was "This one's for me." And I thought that was beautiful. And she was beautiful.
Can you shed a tear on a podcast and have it show up?
I wouldn't hear it in the woods. Is that what you were asking?
Let's watch how we walk and watch how we talk.
Some that will go nameless. Yeah, they kind of drag it, and they're proud of the fact that they don't edit. When I'm thinking, they really should edit.
Yeah, exactly. We love to edit over here at Plant Brotherhood.
We do not love to edit. I don't love to edit, and it's not just because it's tedious. I would like it to be... that's why I say like I'd like to record for long chunks of time at the very least.
We listeners love the edited ones.
Yeah,
doing it's got to be a bitch.
Well, yeah, it's not like I'm gonna not edit if it's 5 minutes of just absolute shit. I'll take that out for the courtesy of the listeners. I mean, Jimmy Pardo doesn't edit, and it works for him. Mostly it works.
Yeah. 'Cause, yeah. Mostly it works. Yeah.
But then again, they're all professional comedians for decades.
So when are you going to start throwing a commercial into your show?
When we get a sponsor.
Sweet. Sweet. What's the name of that theater?
Warehouse
Warehouse Theater.
Theater.
First time I was there yesterday, and as listeners of episode 20, The Perfect Family, will know, you were auditioning for, or no, you had gotten the part
I
for
did.
Nun Sensations.
Yep.
Which, give a brief summary of what it is.
Nun Sensations, Nun Sense. It's a series of musicals based on these 5 nuns that always seem to get themselves in curious predicaments. And they're all comedic. One nun's from the Bronx. One comes from a circus background. One a dancing background. One has amnesia, hence the name Sister Amnesia. And this was the 5th show called Nun Sensations. They were encouraged to do a Vegas show for a $10,000 donation to their school.
Sorry, go ahead.
That confused me a little, and just to make it clear, we have seen the show now. Tracy and I drove over here to Yakima yesterday.
Huge ping for me. Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, and this was your 3rd of 11 shows, right?
Yes.
So how did the first 2 go? Oh, wait, I meant to ask my other question first.
Yeah, I have a question or two.
So you've given the basic plot. I was a little confused that they'd come out and kept addressing the audience as Vegas. I was like, did this originate from Vegas? And that's
Yes, we're supposed to be in Vegas.
I get that.
We're doing a Vegas show.
But it did take me 20 minutes to get it.
Yeah, we're in Vegas. We're in Vegas.
The dice on the...
We're high atop the 3rd floor.
I'm sorry. I think Tracy's unplugged somehow.
No, it's not.
No, I think I moved the mic
Yeah.
over.
But there's others in the series, right? Nuncrackers is that one?
Nuncrackers, Nunsense 2, Nuncrackers. This was Nun Sensations. I'm missing one. I don't know what it is, but it's supposed to be a real dive. Where if you listen to the opening dialogue, we're high atop the 3rd floor
Yeah, I
of the
caught that.
Pump Room Lounge, deep in the heart of Vegas, and so it's supposed to be really tacky and a real tacky setting. Although the set was beautiful, we had a wonderful set designer, and no, it was a huge treat. You know. Ex-J-Dub lesbian playing a nun. A sure crowd pleaser.
Yeah, how does it, what's it called? A habit? A habit?
A habit. Wearing the habit.
That's got to be crazy, right?
That was really crazy.
Yeah.
To don all of this Catholic garb and...
But as you said, we were hanging out with you a little bit before the show you did last night, and there's a lot less insecurity that you have to deal with because you are wearing that. You don't have to worry about your hair.
You don't have to worry about what your hair looks like, sucking in your gut. Wondering if your clothes are on straight, you know. It's what do nuns really wear under their habits? Nothing. I mean, it's fun.
Yeah,
it's just
it looked
fun.
like you were having a lot of fun.
You stand straight, you walk straight, you just feel powerful dressed as a nun.
And yet you can still do the Charleston.
And yet you can still do the Charleston. And thank you for the hoot and hollers for my Charleston.
Yes. And you were the only one that did the Charleston.
Yeah.
And man, did you do the Charleston.
Because I was the nun that came from a dancing background. So
Yeah.
As the performers up there, do you guys have like spots in the audience that you pick to look at, like to kind of focus on or anything like that? Because that nun from Brooklyn, every time I looked at her, she was staring directly at me. I was wondering if she had
You're so
decided,
narcissistic.
like,
Were you high?
there's the seat that I'm going to stare at the whole time.
Sure. You do find your spots. I look up at the light booth, which is in the very back where all the lighting, that's where Janine hangs out. So I just look up there. I can't see her.
Yeah.
I can't see anybody, but that's where I focus. You kind of look on top of everybody. So everyone thinks you're looking at them, but you're really not looking at anybody. And it's amazing when you're on stage because all of the lights from the light booth, they're blinding you. So you really can't see. During your solos, when they have the spotlight on you, you can't see the people out there. That's kind of comforting.
That would have to be a relief for me.
It is.
There's still no
It
way
is.
in a million years I can do it.
Yeah.
I used to think I am going to audition for Rent when Rent comes
Yes.
around
Oh,
because
no.
I love it so much
I
and
do
I
too.
would sing the song so passionately. But
Uh-huh.
obviously in a million years I would never do it. But I would have those kind of fantasies, kind of like Nick Cave's Weezer one, or not Weezer, Blink-182, where like they would somehow call me up and need me. Like if they pulled me out of the audience and said, "What character can you play?"
We
Who
need
would I
you now.
pick? I think I would be Mark. I could be Roger. I'd like to be Benny. That would be weird. Black guy.
You wouldn't do it in a million years?
I never thought I'd do it either.
I couldn't do
Would you
it.
do it in 545,000 minutes?
525,600 minutes.
Oh, are we doing this?
Well, do you
No,
want to know how do you measure a year?
No, I don't actually.
I don't.
I'm sorry, I went over. I think I was counting a leap year.
No, I never thought I'd do it either, but I did it, and it's been a blast.
I could never do it.
And I have to
it.
say, how old are you now, Lori?
44.
I'm 47, so she's my little sister.
Uh-huh.
It took
Barely,
me till
though.
now to find out that my sister could sing. I had no clue at all.
And
that
nothing
she could
against
sing like that.
the other performers last night, but you were the best singer.
You are kidding
You were
me.
belting it out.
I'd like to say I'm not just saying that because I'm your nephew, but mostly yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
You're
I
very
think-
one
I
of
think
them,
you had the
vocal
best songs,
teacher.
too.
I had
Yeah.
great songs.
Yeah.
In fact, some of the other women were, because I'm the novice nun, even in the play.
Right.
I've been the nun the less amount of time. In real life, I've never acted ever or sang in public outside of a drunken karaoke bar where you're just a hero no matter
I've
what
done
you
that.
sing.
In your own head, sure.
Yeah, but and all the drunk cowboys. But they were a little bit miffed that I had the beautiful ballad. How come she gets that song?
Really?
Well, what do they want to do? Play the novice?
No, they wanted the song to be. One of them wanted to sing the song.
Oh, they could switch the
They could
roles
switch.
around. The
Oh,
songs
they,
for the roles that they
not
wanted.
really.
Was it the one
but-
with the bug eyes? I can see her
That
being.
bug-eyed lady.
She was so
She was
good.
great. She
Oh
was
my
hilarious.
God.
She had such good comedic timing.
She's a great character
and
actress. Yes.
nothing against your performance. I thought it was actually very adorable. But towards the end, I can't remember what the joke was, but you were breaking up a little bit. Just
Oh,
for
yeah,
a
you
second
started
on
laughing.
stage, you started
She was
laughing
When
a
they
little bit.
said,
Oh, right.
turn the other
Like-
cheek and
Turn
she
the other
stuck
cheek
her
and she
ass
turns
out.
around to bare her butt. Yeah.
But I thought
did.
it was
I
cute.
started cracking
She
up.
totally fell
But
it
you
up
made
on
it
that
look
stage.
so nunnish. You were holding your hand up to your chest and trying to contain it. You looked so
Right.
proper while doing it.
It wasn't a
She's-
total Jimmy Fallon.
She's just funny, and she ad libs a lot, so you never know what's going to come.
Oh,
out
I
of
was
her.
because you had said that before, and then
Yeah.
I was wondering who's the one. But then after a half an hour into it, it was obvious that she was the one.
Yeah.
But
She's
she was good.
fun.
What's her name? Or her
Grace
first name?
Schefter.
Okay, first and last. We're promoting the show. Why
Oh
not?
yeah, no, she's amazing.
I'm really
Amazing.
insecure about giving last names on the
Oh,
show
I'm
now.
sorry.
No.
Grace Smith.
If she doesn't mind, I don't mind, Lori.
This is the order in which I like the characters. Not counting you because you were obviously number one.
Number one.
Schefter did a good job with
Uh-huh.
the faces. Then I'd go the Brooklyn nun.
Kathy.
Then I'd
Reverend
go the Reverend Mother's assistant,
Okay.
and then the
Hubert.
Reverend Mother.
Uh-huh.
And the
Is that
one
all
that
of
played
them?
Hubert was
You're paying
the
a
one
lot
that
more
only
attention
hit
than me.
A week.
That's in the order that I like them. I
Yeah,
still
the
thought
one
the Reverend
playing
Mother
Hubert
was very
learned her
good.
part in
but-
a week. So yeah,
I'm sorry, what
Oh,
was
yeah.
that?
the one that played the second in command learned her part in 1 week.
There's a little drama behind the stage.
Yeah,
Behind the
that's why I say
scenes.
they call it drama for a reason.
A room full of divas.
Oh,
Was she unhappy with the script, or she just felt
No,
she didn't
she just is unhappy. No.
I love to
No,
laugh
just
at
had
people's
some-
unhappiness.
Had some conflicts and just decided last minute not to fulfill her
Well,
obligations.
the current Hubert was perfect, and
Thank you. She was.
you never know. You never know how it would have went. That's like, what if Tom Selleck had played Indiana Jones? How
Oh,
would it
man.
have gone?
Exactly.
Just be glad it
I-
happened the way it happened.
I'd like a part of me thinks it'd make the same amount of money, and Tom Selleck would be a movie star.
Very possible.
Yeah.
But I can't see Tom Selleck in Patriot games. So
But see, I don't know. I was watching this Jesse Stone thing he was on TV, which is like a.
Oh, I
it's-
saw that.
It's always just on TV, and it was awful. But I'm like, you know what? I mean, this is TV writing and directing, but I mean, he could be in movies like that.
Yeah.
but would he have been willing to shave the mustache to do Indiana Jones?
Oh,
He shaved his
I see
mustache
Indy
for-
with the mustache.
He shaved
Yeah.
his mustache for fucking Friends.
Well, this is years later too,
Right,
Nick.
right.
Yeah, I think he would have. That Indiana Jones. I think back then, I wasn't there, but I think the writing was on the wall that this was going to be a pretty big movie.
I'm sure.
We're not talking about nun sensations anymore, are we?
The movie, Steven
Yeah.
Spielberg,
Yeah.
George Lucas, they got together.
Harrison
Fucking
Ford.
D6. We're gonna do Nun Sensation starring Shia LaBeouf.
The puppet nun will end up, being an alien
Sister
looking for
Mary.
his way home.
Sister Mary Annette. Get it?
I did.
Yeah.
I didn't get that joke until I looked at it in the program and PJ explained it to me.
There was more than one of those jokes in the play.
A lot of puns. A lot of
A
puns.
lot of puns, a lot of sexual innuendo.
He
You know, it's
speaks
the
so
lowest form of
blue, you'd
humor.
think he was a Smurf.
People say that puns
He
are the
asked
lowest
me
form
for
of
a
humor. but they're not.
blow-by-blow
Actually-
description of my work.
Actually, I told Jeanette.
You want to try again?
Wow.
Janine, sorry.
Awkward.
She is
Sorry.
in the room.
Because we just said Sister Marionette. That's
right.
why.
That's all right.
No, I had just told offhand yesterday to Janine that, I find puns to be the lowest form of humor. And she looked at me like, well, wait till you see the play.
You're not gonna
You
play
shouldn't have said that in
then.
front of Lori right now.
Yeah.
I always thought cursing to make your joke funnier was the lowest form of humor.
no, that's the most
Well, that's
hilarious.
fucking
Okay.
bullshit. Now laugh.
I gotcha.
I am laughing.
But what could be funnier than a bunch of nuns making sexual innuendos and saying bullshit?
I don't
Yeah.
mean to be underselling it. I thought it was really entertaining.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
everybody was really good.
It
at
was a great play.
It's very
Yeah.
cheesy.
I
Very
just didn't.
fun.
I guess I didn't know. Like I didn't know what the tone was going to be before I got in.
No.
There. Yeah.
Well, you've never seen I guess you've seen Romeo and Juliet ballet.
Yeah, I got dragged to some of that.
But
I had a
you've never
girlfriend
seen a
once,
play
guys.
like this. Play was very much like I've only seen a couple, but it was in the vein of Rent and Sweeney Todd, just in the fact that it's jokey. The jokes are very like
Ching-ching.
what's that way they deliver it? Like just that boom.
Right.
Right.
Every
Right.
joke like that right at the audience. I love it. That's why I
Yeah.
love those things.
And that's what was different about this play was that fact it was audience involvement.
Yeah.
Most stage plays,
Oh my
you're
God,
just
which
The audience
might as well
terrified
be
me.
watching. The audience isn't there.
Right.
Here we are there. We're the Vegas crowd.
Right.
Tell her the story, Tracy, about when you brought the wheel out. Describe that scene, and then
Yeah, what's the scene? There's a wheel that comes out, and it's an audience participation.
The game
thing.
show.
Yeah.
Right.
Holy rollers.
and so there's
Right.
an actual wheel, and
It's actual wheel, kind of like on Wheel of Fortune, and it's got all of
the only wheel I know.
all of the attributes like faith, hope, charity, will, and grace.
Right.
That was
And,
funny.
yeah.
I like
With
that.
pictures of Will and Grace.
Yes, yes.
So
Yeah.
so
Eric
one of
McCormack and
the
Deborah
one of the
Messing.
audience participants chooses a virtue. We spin the wheel. If it lands on the virtue,
But you're
your
not pulling them
choice.
up on stage. You're just asking.
No, they're just asking.
And there's a little brief
Going out in the
banter,
crowd,
like
right.
put the microphone in their face. What's your name?
Right, right.
We were, PJ was sitting closer to the aisle than I was, and we knew you were part of it.
I had the aisle. I made my wife switch because my brother informed me that there was some audience participation. So
And we
I
thought-
switched out of the aisle.
We thought because you were a part of it, you might peg one of us.
Right.
And I hate audience participation stuff. I loved the play.
You're welcome.
But thank you.
but had you sat on the aisle, she was picking out the men. You probably made a good move there, PJ.
Yeah.
She would have picked.
See, I
them,
told
yeah.
you. I told you
Yeah.
another time. Tracy had a whole spiel, though. He was hoping for it, right?
I know.
I was ready for the answers. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were asking because the Sister Amnesia was asking, "Are you Catholic?" And two people said yes. And
Or what's your religion? Wasn't
what's
that
your
the question?
religion?
Yeah.
And I was all ready to belt out. No, I'm an atheist. Nice and loud in a room full.
I wonder
of,
what she would have done with that.
And I wanted to see her response. And
Well, I was thinking that's where a lot of her improv.
And then when you asked to pick a virtue, I was going to just say, "Give me grace."
See, he was prepared.
I was
If you
all
put that
ready
mic
for
in
it.
front of, if they'd put the mic in front of my face, I'd fucking stammer and shit my pants. I'd be out of there.
I think I would have liked it more if you would have taken the mic and said, "I'm atheist, God delusion, RichardDawkins.net."
yeah, I couldn't tell you what Grace would have done with that.
She would have been ready for it.
She would have been
I probably would have been the first person ever thrown out of the warehouse theater.
could be.
Well,
Could
I was
be.
going to say you've done 3 shows, so they do ask people in the audience what their religion is every time.
Is it that, or didn't they ask?
Are
she
you
was asking,
Catholic? She asked, "Are you Catholic?"
Oh, I see. I see.
Are you
I
Catholic?
really thought it was more broad than that.
Yeah.
You'll have to tell me when somebody gets up and says I'm an atheist, how the audience
How she-
responds and how
uh-huh.
she ad libs.
Yeah.
That would be fun to hear.
Yeah.
You want to take a break?
Because I want to talk about so now you're auditioning for a new play.
I want to.
You want to audition for
I
it?
was asked to.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, after the opening night, a producer, it's a bunch of big fish in a little pond. Let's remind your listeners that it's community theater. And
In Yakima,
In
Washington.
Yakima, Washington.
Which is 300 miles away from Seattle.
Yeah.
But what it is,
Not
Lori,
quite. It's 150. Yeah.
150. Oh, I'm thinking of
The way home.
away. Yep. Away
Yeah.
home.
But, I think the theater seats 200 people. We're doing 11 shows, and it's been sold out. So, there's a couple thousand people that you're
You guys were on the cover of what magazine?
on magazine in the newspaper.
Uh-huh.
And
Which is like...
It's like a magazine in the
Within the
Friday newspaper.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And it's about entertainment
arts
and
and
art.
everything that's
yeah.
going on in the area. Yeah.
Which is surprising. Yakima does have at least a semi-art scene.
It does. It does.
There's the Capitol
Yeah.
Theater, the Warehouse Theater.
The Capitol is beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot
Driving.
of the women that I worked with on this play and the director and the producer and, it's the... I don't want to call them local celebrities, but the high society, the Warehouse is really the it.
Right,
And
yeah. In
anybody that's
Yakima, you
anybody-
always know the rich families.
Right, the doctors, the lawyers, the dentists.
Like I saw the name Closter on the program. I've definitely heard of Closter.
And Glaberton is a huge name,
Yeah.
and Gasparetti's is a huge name in Yakima, and
Gaspardi's is a bar in Yakima, isn't
yeah,
it?
it's a restaurant. It started out as a
Oh, I
restaurant,
see.
and they have a bar called the G Spot. But
Called the G Spot?
uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his bar, and it's
Nice.
he's
I have no
really
joke for that,
supportive
but-
of the arts
Me neither.
and everything.
Nothing that.
But
would
no, they
be
asked me to
pathetic.
do.
really hard to
They're doing a
find.
musical in the summer called Joseph, by yet another religious film.
Yeah.
Joseph of the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat or if it was just Joseph. He just said, "We want you to audition for that." Now I'm kind of hooked.
Yeah. I could see it. Like, it's kind of thrilling, right? Like, getting
It
the
is.
audience reaction. and-
Absolutely, to
Yeah.
have them laugh at your jokes.
I could just
and
never do it. Like, all the lights
applaud
on me and just... I'd just be so insecure about
Yeah.
myself. Have it or no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. It was challenging. It is.
I think I would
challenging.
definitely not let any family come.
Really.
Yeah, I wouldn't want anyone who I know to be out there.
Yeah.
You can't restrict family from coming.
I wouldn't want
Especially
them
if
to
you're on
come.
the cover of On Magazine. They're going to
Hello.
know. Yeah.
You,
Talk to
you
the
can ask
ushers.
them not to come.
Yeah.
I guess.
I found it kind of comforting. And what I remembered is that everybody there is seeing it for the first and probably only time.
Uh-huh.
So why work this hard and have been practicing for so long just to fuck it up for somebody's first time?
Right.
And that's how I got over my nerves. I've been working so hard on this, and I've gotten so much support that why go out there and then you drove 200 miles to come see it. Why fuck it up at the end and not do a good job?
I would have been so disappointed.
Yeah, it really
Lori.
got Tracy to Yakima.
I know.
That hasn't happened in
Since your wedding.
Yeah,
Since
so
your wedding.
almost 7 years, and then never before that.
Nope.
Nope.
I have to have a really good
That
reason to come
was
out here.
huge to me.
Yeah.
That was a huge honor.
Very special events. Your wedding,
Yeah,
my mother's wedding,
yeah,
her play, and eventually my mother's funeral.
and
One can only hope.
your mother's wedding and my wedding, those were within like 2 weeks of each other.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I remember because I road tripped it with you both times.
Yeah, you did.
And I road tripped it with you yesterday to get here today.
And to be fair, it's how many miles from Seattle to
About
here?
150.
For us, it was probably 175 because we missed the exit.
Yeah.
It had to backtrack, but
what happens is the same.
There's this really, really, really big sign that says Yakima and arrow, so I totally understand how you missed it.
But if you're talking to each other as if you were on the podcast and not paying attention to traffic,
you guys could have set up the laptop and shit.
yeah, really.
No kidding. That would have been a good episode, yesterday's road trip over here.
It would have.
There was a lot of intense family talk and just show talk also.
Yep.
Tracy's the only one
Oh.
that I can talk about the show and not feel like an asshole about it.
And also, I can, I'm being sincere when I talk about the show, but it does come off like I'm stroking you, But it's just because I'm.
Which takes us
I
back
think
to
it's a great thing.
masturbation. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go back to masturbation, shall we? It's wrong. We all know it's wrong.
But no, I mean, and that was it was all I wanted to talk about the minute he got in the car.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, what's this mean on
It
Twitter?
is always
And what does this
relieving when
mean?
someone, when me or Nick being us, when you're not the one to initiate that. You know what I mean?
Initiate the
to have
conversation.
someone that like truly wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But yeah, we did miss the exit as a result of our excess talking. And that's fine. Like if I'd been trapped in the car with my mom and we missed the exit, which has been the case once before.
The exact same thing, yeah.
Yeah,
well, I got to say, as a navigator guy, you can't let that happen to your driver twice. Like,
people should know about me that I am not a navigator. I haven't driven in quite a while, and I just don't pay attention. I'm sorry. You have MapQuest.com for a reason, Tracy.
Yeah, you're right. Never rely on you again for directions.
And we've got the whole ride back tomorrow too. That's what's gonna be
That'll
hilarious.
be a little easier.
Nah, until we end up in Spokane.
Until we end up in or Vancouver.
I think the drive from Yakima to Seattle is literally almost you never have to get off anywhere.
Yeah.
Pretty much,
No,
yeah.
As long as you
Every
take
highway bleeds
I-90
into the
all the
next
way
one.
to Seattle.
Right.
Yeah.
Just really quick, going back to the drive over here, Tracy, like we said, he likes to talk about the show, and Tracy has been a guest, episodes 30 and 31. It seems to me that you're almost looking and begging for negative attention. He was disappointed that he had talked about his son, Tim, and that there had been no negative response about him.
There was plenty of that in our home. We
Yeah.
just didn't write it.
What did you think of that, Lori?
We didn't get an email, Lori, so we don't know.
I know.
you got to write that shit in.
Info
I'm
at
sorry.
planbrotherhood.com.
No, I just feel bad for the little feller.
Like we said before, it's because you don't know him.
No, I know.
But she can take a week with my sister coming to stay here. So I mean,
know.
like I say, Tim would be more than happy to move in with him
Yeah, and you'd be begging.
if you offer the invite.
No,
Maybe
I
they can
don't
have
know. And
Melissa
so you're
live with
right.
you.
I don't know Tim. I probably could pick him out of a crowd because he's so unique looking.
Yeah.
But I don't
That's
know
kind.
him.
He's
I
on
don't
he's
know
on
him.
MySpace. He's my personal MySpace friend.
Not the show friend.
Yeah.
And yet, oddly enough, that's the only. When I go to check him out, do a little stalking, it's the only one that freezes up my computer when I try to download his MySpace page.
It's because he wants you to see those South Park clips he has.
Must be.
I think there is a lot. He's really into like the mobsters application, and I bought you as my pet. And
Does he
just
work?
overapt.
What does he do for work?
he
I have
You're
no
asking
idea.
Tracy?
I have
Tracy
Yeah,
no
hasn't-
never
idea.
mind.
Tracy
Yeah.
hasn't talked to his son in several years.
it's
Yeah.
something along the lines of like cabinet refinishing or something
Okay.
like that.
Yeah.
Or he might be back in Alaska again. You know?
Who knows?
Yeah,
Who knows?
He goes to and fro.
Did I tell the story previously about when I ran into Tim most recently? And I hadn't seen him in several years. And he's roughly,
so.
what, your age, PJ?
Yeah.
26 or 27?
He's just a few months younger than me.
Yeah. And I ran into him at, I used to say the bank, but I'll be honest with you guys. It was a check cashing place.
Yeah.
Because I was getting a payday loan. Tim, to his credit, was actually just cashing a check and apparently didn't have a bank account.
It was an income tax check, right?
Yeah. He had just gotten his income tax check. And so I don't recognize him. He's standing in front of me because I haven't seen him in several years, and he's a wiry, like skinny little kid still. But he has like a gross beard. Like I always talk
goatee
about how I
thing,
can't
yeah.
grow a beard, but if I didn't shave for 3 years, that's what it would look like.
That's what would grow, and it's in no way a beard. It's only at the bottom of your chin,
Yeah.
and it's just long.
So he just looked really scuzzy and gross.
White trashy.
Again, though, I'm there getting a payday loan. He's more respectable than me at this point. But then I didn't piece together who it was because it's been so long and I'm not used to his weird goatee. And then he turns around and he's like, Nick. And from there on, like, he's like, what are you doing right now? And I was in Tacoma.
and he's had that voice since he was like 6 years old, too.
So he's like, what are you doing right now? And I'm like, oh, I'm actually going to see my mom and my little sister and my stepdad. Do you want to come? Like, because I felt like that was the next step. And of course he did. But he had weed, so that was awesome. And so he
What, he just volunteered that? Can I come with you? I have weed.
No. I had offered before I knew he had weed, just to be a pretend good cousin, I guess.
Hoping he had weed.
Yeah, and he totally scored. Or I scored, I guess. So he comes back on the bus with me, and you had just had your kid, PJ, at this point. And I remember Alvina was pregnant with Sophie.
No,
And-
I think we'd had the kid.
Okay, then just barely. And I had told him, because he hadn't talked to you, he had no idea that you had had a kid. And so I told him, and he's like, his instant reaction was, PJ Allers.
Yeah, what does that even mean?
Especially coming from that weird guy.
Yeah.
Like, PJ could never have a kid. Yeah,
It's just
well,
like
you've
a
never
s-
kissed a girl.
It's like a stock generic thing to say, and that's kind of how he is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
Yeah.
just going to
Yeah.
say the most cliche fucking things ever.
Because that's about as much as he can get out of his brain.
Yeah, exactly. And then you gave him my number, and he called me like right after.
What? That's me.
I thought you guys got along. Jeez, Nick is so evil to you.
I know that was pretty fucked, and so I got an awkward conversation with him, and then he called me a while later, and it turned out that his sister had died, and then I haven't
moment?
really talked to him since.
Oh, awkward moment. Unbeknownst to either one of us, all three of us, me, his father, and his two cousins, he called all three of us within the same amount of time, basically giving us the same announcement, the same speech that his sister.
Well, I never
died.
answered the phone.
His sister
Well,
died.
but you would have gotten the speech.
Yeah.
Right. Me and Tracy have conferred, and he said like all the exact same ridiculous things.
And it was like, and the funny part is, I had met his sister who died at 22 years old.
I think she was 20.
I think I'd met her 3 times
yeah.
and was not a part of their lives, but Tim just had to inform me that his sister died, and
He was
of
seriously
course, it
just
was
like
God's
calling
will,
anybody
and-
who he could think of.
Yeah.
And then and he made a comment about, oh, I will sit back, I'll trust in the truth and stuff like that. And I said, what are you?
What?
Are you a Jehovah's Witness? And he's like, oh, I always was off and on. I'm like, no, you fucking weren't. You had Christmas every year. You went trick or treating every year.
No.
He just says like just things like that.
Now that I
please
do celebrate Halloween, I go as Tim every year.
Because I'm sure that when he called Barry and said that, and when he called Grandma and said that, and if he called Russ and said that, then they were like, "Oh, that's very good."
I bet
Tell
he's
her-
allowed in their homes.
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah,
Tell
big
us the
time.
logic.
he's
that
one
he
of those
gave-
kids
gave
lucky
you
enough.
about why he decided he has to be a witness.
Oh, well, he said, I think this is what you're talking about. He said, it's the truth. It wouldn't be called the truth if it wasn't, or it's right in the name, or something like that.
That is so deep.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's as deep
why
as
I'm
Tim
not
has
a
ever
witness
gotten.
now. I'll never know, just because that's so simply logical.
But going back to Tim and his rehearsed speeches for everything, that same bus trip, he came back with me, and then all of a sudden, like, it's awkward enough hanging out at my mom's house, but I had already committed to being there, and then all of a sudden, Tim's there with me, which nobody is expecting.
Melissa needed a playmate
And so,
or a superior.
and I remember Tim was quoting all night Lewis Black, like he had just bought a Lewis Black CD or had seen something that he recorded off of Comedy Central. And Lewis Black is a very political comedian.
and intense.
And I don't know that we've ever touched on this, but our stepdad is not also black, but a Republican.
Yeah.
He's a Republican?
Yeah.
Loves Bush.
Oh,
So Tim comes in
man.
like
My
cribbing
mom
all.
never shaves.
I was waiting for that.
Tim comes in like quoting all this Lewis Black political humor as his own, who's very Democrat, and just about what a fucking idiot Bush is and blah, 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 in front of Vincent. And the whole time I'm like, calm it down a little bit.
And Tim
Like,
is so in your face about stuff like that and has no knowledge of his own to back it up. Just what this comedian says.
and quoting it verbatim.
Yeah.
Like, not just putting a spin on what that guy had to say. Like, it's word for word.
Reenacting it.
Yeah.
I'll admit that yesterday I was quoting Todd Glass when talking about what bothered me about George Bush.
It's different,
but
PJ.
At least I gave him the credit.
Right. You
And
didn't
you were making
plagiarize
it. You were making
Right.
it fit the situation. You
Yeah.
weren't trying to do 5
And I
minutes.
also
in front of
wasn't
somebody.
trying to debate someone who had the opposite opinion of me and only have that Todd Glass line as my reference.
And you don't have a gross beard.
Yeah. So
Right.
was Vincent getting like pissed off about this?
I felt like he was. I mean, I never talked to him about it, of course. I was just trying to calm Tim down the whole time.
I made a really stupid comment in front of Vincent once that I was kind of embarrassed about later. I didn't know he was a Republican, and I don't care about politics. And
Well,
I
he
ju-
should be embarrassed for being a Republican.
Yeah, I guess.
Don't you think now that Obama's president, like, he's like, yeah, brother. He's got to, right?
Yeah, I don't know. They do a thing on Inside Edition about black guys not voting for Obama. So
Okay, so anyway, what did you say that was embarrassing?
I can't even remember what context it was in. I think I was just trying to be shocking, but I said something about if I needed money, maybe I would just kill the president and everyone would love me and give me money. Something really stupid.
When
like
Bush
that.
was president?
Yeah, and he was like, I wonder what people would really think about you after that. And I was like, haha, fuck everybody, anarchy. I'm 16. But then, like, I didn't know till way later that, like, he was pro George Bush. And it's got to be annoying for him to hear uneducated people
Sure.
just
Yeah,
spewing bullshit for no reason, because that's what, they see on TV.
Sure.
I also hate
But
George
it's
Bush.
also one of the joys of being that age. You can look back now
Yeah.
and go, "Oh God, I was such an idiot."
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
It is, and I wish I could be less embarrassed because I was so young.
Well, one thing I've learned that I'm starting to realize older I get, all that stuff that I remember that embarrasses me, I realize I'm the only one that remembers it.
Yeah.
You know,
God, I'd like to think that, but I'm convinced everyone's always thinking about me.
It's so narcissistic, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's like I
like
remember
they
it all, why
literally
don't they?
sit at home and think about everything I said at work to them that day. And I think, how can they just be really mad at me for that?
And yet at the same time, because I used to do that to my customers, I'd say stuff to them that I would have taken just awfully. And I'm thinking, I will never see these people again. Here they are the next day.
Can you give us an
know?
example of what you're talking about?
Have you ever?
Actually, no, I couldn't because my memory's bad. But I can be real acerbic and throw a one-liner at you in response to something you said that was stupid.
But that's why 80% of your customers came to that coffee shop.
they came for the coffee.
They expected it.
The abuse first, the coffee second. Yeah.
Can you remember a time when you did offend somebody, like they told you or somebody else, like, I'm offended by that?
Yeah, and they never came back again. But
Jehovah's Witnesses,
but
right?
usually that was intentional. If somebody I really didn't like one time, this woman used to come in whose perfume was so bad that I would literally hold my breath when she came in. And so finally I said, the old saying is perfume should whisper and never scream. You're making me deaf right now.
What did she say to that?
She was like, she just got totally offended, put the drink down, took her money back, and I'll never come back again. But, it may have been a bad way to handle it, but I couldn't stand holding my breath when this woman came in anymore. I understand buying a gallon of cheap perfume, but why wear the
All
whole
at
fucking
once.
gallon at once? I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I wish I could be more outward with my feelings. Let me try. Those fucking pajama pants, Tracy. I fucking need a pair of sunglasses. They're so blinding.
They're terrible, aren't they? Yeah, good old Tabasco.
That was a really good job, Nick.
feels
Or
great.
Peach.
PJ.
Why can't I get you guys straight?
You know,
There's
it's
something
more
else I'm gonna
embarrassing.
blow up about.
Everybody that's listening are huge
Pants.
Everybody that's
I'm a fan of pants.
Everybody's are huge fans of PJ and I, and then you come in and fuck it up. And you've known us our whole lives, and yet you call me PJ constantly, and PJ Nick.
But I can't get anybody's
All
name right when
weekend,
I
all
get around
weekend.
my family. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, it's the same with our
I
mom.
can't get everybody's
Nick,
name
PJ, Melissa, whoever you are.
Yeah, it was the worst one.
Get a different goddamn face, okay? And maybe that would help.
Someone told me the other day that Nick and I are starting to look more and more alike, but I don't think
Have you
that's
gained some
true.
weight?
Well,
I
Janine
think
noticed
we're really
last
starting to
night
separate.
while watching SNL is how much you look like Adam Sandberg.
Yes, you do
Andy
a
Samberg.
lot.
Andy Sandberg,
And,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You did that last time too. You called him Adam.
No, you do.
It fits better. But yeah, he looked like, especially with your hair all up like that.
That's why
now.
you called me Sandberg.
That's
this
how I
morning.
called you Sandberg when you came in this morning. Yeah.
Even though Andy Samberg has the same kind of hair that you do right now, I think you look most like him when he's wearing a wig. Is that weird? I think that the angles where you can really see his face that way.
I'm
Yeah, you have the
confused.
same face, the same nose.
So I
the
look like
same-
Kristen Wiig. That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
I tuned out for a minute.
Like Andy Samberg when he's wearing Kristen wig.
Life without end at last.
We are recording.
Okay, I just want you to know now that we're back from our little break, I'm not talking to you, fucker.
Why is that?
Saying shit about my Tabasco pants. Fuck you. I'm insulted.
Let's paint a picture. Let's set the scene. Tracy is wearing pajama pants. And what time is it now? It's at least 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
with flip
Hey,
flops.
it's bedtime. With
And-
Vans flip flops and a
and
Delano's
gross
gray
toenails.
sweatshirt. Yep. I'm pimping for Delano's coffee.
and a sweatshirt.
They're really not that loud. They're mostly black.
Yeah, they're mostly black with Tabasco red. But hey, they're comfortable and
Black.
And the
I'm not going
Tabasco
anywhere
logo. It's not just a color.
Yeah.
yeah.
I have, okay, hypothetically, Tracy,
Uh-huh.
let's pretend I'm your son. Not only am I your
Okay,
son.
first of all, that means I will disavow you and not talk to you.
No, if I were your
You and I are going to have a podcast, Lori. because I'm not talking to either one of these bitches.
All right, go back to what you were
Yeah.
saying, Nicholas.
okay, not only am I your son, and don't act like you haven't told me and PJ several times our growing up, especially when we were teenagers and all of a sudden we were cool. You would say, I wish you were my sons.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure people knew.
Yeah.
And
But
thank you.
You were the. I never wanted children, but I figured if I'm gonna have a kid, at least I want a kid I can get along with.
Right.
God, wouldn't it be
Well,
great to
you-
have had a father that appreciated us?
And you guys would have been the type of kid I would have gotten along with because I get along with you now. Because I can relate to you. Tim, unfortunately, I could never relate to. if I could have related to him, we'd get along great. Mm-hmm. But I've said it before. I don't judge. I don't like somebody just because they're blood. I have to be able to respect them and understand them as well.
And I wouldn't follow Tim on Twitter.
That's why I don't. Yeah, I wouldn't follow Tim on Twitter. Exactly.
Could you imagine Tim on Twitter?
Guess what I didn't do today? Shave.
Well, at least you. Well, on the advantage of that is that he wouldn't even come close to using the 140 characters.
That's true.
What I find interesting about that is that okay, me and PJ, you wish you were sons.
Okay.
Are you gonna make fun of my mangled version of that sentence?
Oh, we got it.
I refer to you as the sons I should have had.
Okay. But you were saying that even as I can't speak for PJ because were you ever an active Jehovah's Witness? But I was an active Jehovah's Witness, but I would still hang
Yes,
out
I
with you.
was.
Right.
But we would stick to pop culture.
Pop culture, the safe topics.
But even then, you would make the comment about you could be my son, or you know,
Right.
you and PJ could be my sons.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even when you didn't abide by my religious beliefs.
No, I didn't abide by your religious belief, but I knew you were smart. I knew you were.
He knew
both-
you were faking
I knew.
it.
No. I
He
knew
knew
you-
we'd get out of it.
I knew
Yeah.
you guys were intelligent, and I knew that if I dug enough, because I've tried this with every member of my family. I've tried to have religious conversation from my side, from my angle, my logical angle.
Your atheist
And I would-
angle, yeah.
And I would, and more Spockian angle, if you want to call it. I always approach it with logic, and I have a handful of questions that I like to ask Christians, and I've posed it to other members of the family, and they've never spoken to me again. And I would pose these questions to you,
Because
knowing
you were bad association.
exactly.
Always.
Right.
But I
What
would pose
scripture is
these
that,
questions to Nick. I would have posed these to Nick, knowing that he would be smart enough to understand the question I was asking.
But I wouldn't answer the question.
But you also didn't cut me off either and say I'm not talking to him anymore. So all I knew with you, all I had to do was keep trying. And eventually I'd get you to the dark side.
I credit Jehovah's Witnesses for making me not one anymore. Not anyone who ever tried to talk me out of it, but I'd had enough with the people who I knew in the religion.
No,
And
I had
no,
enough
I
of
was
the
never
hypocrisy.
baptized, but
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
couldn't take the
I had enough of
hypocrisy
the
anymore.
hypocrisy when I was a child.
I was so deep into it and knew so many people and so much of the hierarchy and the elders. And then I knew all of the bad and the hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I knew what I was getting in trouble for because I'm not a good liar and I couldn't keep my fucking mouth shut about myself. And then everybody else was just bypassing trouble because they were great liars. And I thought, this is really, really wrong.
That's the only
And I
difference
couldn't
between
take
a
it.
good and a bad Jehovah's Witness is who's the better
Who's
liar.
the better liar?
You know whose
Lester
hypocrisy
Spears,
used to
episode
make
40.
me more mad than anybody?
Who?
This guy.
You're pointing at me.
Nikolai.
My brother Bear Nick. This guy, when he was banging around with storytelling and would still go to all the meetings and stuff, because that was like during my last gasp of trying to be a Jehovah's Witness, even though I was never baptized.
And so I was still I was still pretending to be.
Right. So you were there, and I felt like I'm working hard to do all this stuff, and you were kind of doing it all like at the same time as me. But at the same time, you were banging, in my opinion, a very ugly girl behind the scenes the entire time.
Yeah.
And just doing all this shit that you're not supposed to be doing. And I think I would revert back to like when we lived in a house, you, me, and two other Jehovah's Witnesses, and they both moved out. And
Wasn't that a party?
And then I went to go live with some friends of mine from work.
And I was devastated, PJ. I was so fucking mad at you for leaving
You
that
gave
house.
me so much shit about going to live with non-Jehovah's Witnesses that like I called Uncle Russ and had breakfast with him to talk to him about it and ask him advice.
Oh God.
To
What an
which-
awful
Uncle Russ,
breakfast.
who is the head Jehovah's Witness in our family.
Of the family, yeah. He's the guy
Jehovah's
you're gonna
Witness,
go to.
Jehovah's
He's the
Witness,
father
right.
figure.
And in
for
Tracy's
sure.
words, pussy whip tool.
Right.
He's the guy who will give you the coldest fucking shoulder on earth if you were baptized and you're not a Jehovah's Witness anymore. Or in my case, if you're me, who just was too lazy to get baptized, and now I have what would be described best as by our Uncle Barry an apostate podcast. He still comes to my house all the time, and
An apostate
Holds my kid.
podcast. Oh, I
Well,
love
of
it.
course it is.
I
It
said
is.
something to Barry about, would you consider our podcast apostate? And he said, well,
Should we explain what apostate means?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, let me finish this, and
Okay,
then we'll
okay.
explain it, because he said in Nick's case it would be an apostate podcast
Because I'm baptized.
right. So an apostate is someone, and let's let Lori say it, because
Yeah. Explain
knows more than I
apostate
do.
to
Oh,
us.
well, I mean, if you were, it's not really a religious term. If you looked it up in the dictionary,
Or
it
the
is-
dictionary.
in the dictionary, it's a breaking of loyalty ties. That's what it is.
Uh-huh.
You're breaking your ties of loyalty.
Oh,
And so
I never thought
we're-
Jehovah's Witnesses coined the word.
Yeah,
but,
well, honey, when you're raised as one of
Yeah,
Jehovah's
sure,
Witnesses,
sure.
you think
You
they
think they invented
invented
everything.
everything.
Yep.
and you know what Jehovah's Witnesses, at least if you're born into it and you're like surrounded by it your whole life, people's idea of an apostate is, we've mentioned the conventions at Tacoma Domes and stuff. These people would stand outside the Tacoma Dome
Yes.
with big like signs as if they're
Yeah.
what do you call them, protesters?
right.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're protesting
were.
the religion.
Actively
Right. So to be an
protesting it, yeah.
apostate in the Jehovah's Witness organization is to not only leave it, but then to
Fight against it.
preach against
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
to take an active opposite view.
And I know you're not a huge listener of the podcast, but you have
Mm-hmm.
heard some. Would you consider us apostate?
No,
Or Nick.
no.
Janine is
If you
shaking
were
her
a
head yes.
Opinionated.
If you were a
Not
witness,
If I were
against
a
it. Yeah, I
witness-
mean, we're speaking out against it. If
No.
someone asked me, are you actively trying, like, if
Not actively trying to
if in a million years someone was like using what I'm saying to decide whether or not be a Jehovah's Witness, I yes,
Yeah.
I'm actively would be trying to
Yeah.
tell them no.
You know, my opinion is probably skewed because I'm not one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So I would say, oh God, no.
And the
your
only reason you're on the
Anymore.
show.
yeah.
You know, but if I were an active J-Dub, I think, oh man, they're so apostate.
I like to
They're
call it
so
the battle of the truth
apostatizing.
versus the truth.
What's
Yeah,
that?
really. The
My-
truth, air quotes, versus the truth.
The truth, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
trying to give you my honest opinion against your stupid fucking religion that
Right.
you call the truth.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not an apostate because I was never a witness, yet technically I'm an apostate because I battle against them. So
Yeah.
Yeah. What I always thought was really interesting, and we talked about this earlier, that it was really hard for me to endorse something if I couldn't explain it.
Uh-huh.
Therefore, I didn't really understand it. Blah, blah, blah. Is one thing I could never understand is we went door to door, cold, off the cuff, talked about one of the two things you're never supposed to talk about, religion and politics.
Uh-huh.
Talk about religion. And we would encourage people, implore people to question everything they've been learning up until this point. Question it, question it, question it, question it. Let us come in and change your mind. And then the minute we changed their mind, we told them to close that door
Yeah.
of question and don't ever question anything again in your whole wide life.
That is so crazy.
everything we
That
tell
is
you, never
crazy.
I have
question it,
always
yeah.
thought that because kids at school would say that same thing, like,
Mm-hmm.
well, why don't you come to church with me? And blah blah blah. I'm like, no, I can't do it. Why?
Yeah,
Why can
right.
I expect everyone to do something?
So we
that I
totally
refuse?
capitalized on their vulnerability. We encouraged them to come out of their box, to open those doors, to widen their minds, to outside thinking, think outside the box. And then the minute we seduced them into that, we slammed that door and said, don't you ever do that again.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you do that again, it's wrong and it's apostasy and you'll be punished for it.
Which is
such
the
a control
definition.
thing.
It's a
Yeah.
definition of a cult.
Yeah.
Jehovah's Witnesses are not a religion; they're a cult.
Yeah, I'd have to research a little more before I 100% agree, but I definitely see that it's like not too unlike who's that crazy guy that married
Jim
the
Jones,
Playmate?
David Koresh.
Eric Roberts played him in a movie.
Star 80?
Yeah, that movie. I marry. You marry someone and it's just like you're mine now. You're mine. You're never
my
going to go
property.
anywhere else. That's kind of how it is with Jehovah's Witnesses. They're telling you, open your mind enough. And right now I'm just repeating what you said. Open your mind enough to hear what we're saying.
Right.
And then never open your mind to anyone else who might
Right.
be making sense again.
Right. And
Like
everything-
scientists. Like
and-
scientists who are telling
Right,
you.
and everything
this is
Jehovah's
bullshit.
Witnesses taught was in direct contrast to the way they were raised. So when we ask people to open their minds, it is it is to think the polar opposite of what they were raised to believe what true was. And we finally get them to that place, and then we say, okay, don't ever do that again.
Yeah.
And that's just wrong.
Yeah, it's sick.
Yeah.
Bullshit. I call bullshit.
Just
I-
a little bit of
There was more than
bullshit.
one time, up until the Lester Spears episode, in episode 40, where I talk about the guy that, screwed around.
Wait,
30.
What's that? Episode 30, I'm sorry. But I used to basically sit in the back of the Kingdom Hall before that and was calling bullshit to myself on half the stuff they were talking about. And I'd be sitting in the back just shaking my head no, going, no, this is stupid. How could they be talking about this? How can they believe this stuff?
Yeah.
But I couldn't say anything about it or I would get in trouble. I couldn't question what they were teaching me.
I'm sorry if I've asked you this before, but when did you realize? When did you drop out? You were never officially baptized.
I was never officially baptized. I went because it was the family thing to do and it was all I knew.
You were born into it, of
I
course.
was born into
Yeah.
it. But in my teen years, I started finding reasons not to go. In my early teen years, I don't want to go. I don't feel good, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And then I started getting interested. I had a crush on this one girl, so then I started going back again. But
a Jehovah's Witness you had a crush on?
Yeah, all right, but no courage to do anything about it, so it didn't matter. I was just going to stalk her,
Yeah.
That's
But,
a lot of the reason
but-
I stayed in as long as I did,
exactly, because it's the only social life you got when you're raised in
Exactly.
that. It's like, let's go do that.
When you married your, I was going to say first wife, but you've
My
only been
only
married
wife,
once. Was she a Jehovah's Witness?
Yeah, she was.
Did you guys have a Kingdom Hall wedding?
No, because we had met there, but while we were dating, I realized that I'm done with this completely.
Do you have to be a baptized Jehovah's Witness to get married in a Kingdom Hall?
Yeah.
By the
I
way,
believe
Nick,
so.
who was
I believe
banging
so.
his girlfriend right up until their wedding day, was going to get married in a Kingdom Hall.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
she's a
got
good
married in
liar.
our backyard.
Yeah, we
You-
were
but
both
you-
fairly good liars at the time, I guess.
So I meant you do need to be baptized. To get
Yes.
married.
We got married
Yes.
in the backyard, and we did get one of
Oh,
the
yeah, I've
brothers.
seen pictures of
one of
those,
the
yeah.
brothers. He may have been elder, performed it, but that was because my mom begged him to do it.
Yeah.
I think, but it was.
Just think, like that was tough, but then he would have never had Tim. So
Yeah,
Praise
that's
Jehovah.
Right, praise the Lord.
Praise
No wonder I'm
Jah.
an atheist.
Tracy,
Yes, sir.
your son Tim.
Yes.
Let's go back to this. Pretend I'm your son Tim,
Okay.
and I'm 6 years old. You
16?
No, 6.
6. Okay.
6. And you get a call from my elementary school. I'm in kindergarten,
Okay.
and I'm acting up at school.
wait a minute, but Nick, you were like 8 years old in kindergarten.
PJ, you're confused. Let me set the scene again.
He's Tim.
Always Tim.
Hypothetically, I am Tim. So let's say you get a. Let me tell the real story.
Okay.
Tracy had told a great story on the drive over here yesterday about how he disciplined Tim for acting up in school, in kindergarten.
I'm not saying that I disliked him from the day he was born. He was a cute baby. He looked like E.T. E.T. was the big movie at the time, but a cute E.T.
Wait.
It was a great baby picture. A lot of them are really bad, but he had a
He
great
had
baby
great
picture.
ears.
He was a cute little kid.
We just all hoped he'd grow
But-
out of what he looked like as a baby.
But he got as he got older, he just got a little more difficult to be around, a little strange, just a little off the wall, and it got to the point where he was getting in trouble in kindergarten for misbehaving during basically gym class. I mean, kindergarten is gym class. For
Do you remember what
6 hours.
the specific complaint was? Because we
ju-
all act up in kindergarten.
No,
We're
ju-
6. We don't know who we are.
The complaint was to the point, I can't remember specifically, but he was disrupting so bad that they would make him sit out activities. And this is kindergarten.
Yeah.
And he's acting up, being told to sit out. And the school had gone to his mother and complained about it, and his mother came to me. So it was my job, to do something about it when I had one of my visits with him. And every time I'd see him, I'd buy him new toys or whatever, right? So I'd given him a new toy, and I decided, okay, now I have to be a father and discipline and talk to him about what was happening at school. And he didn't think it was a big problem. So then I started getting stern with him and telling him, you can't be acting up at school like this. The school gets upset, your mom gets upset, I get upset, and I don't know what we're going to do about it. I mean, what do I have to do? take your toys away from you? What? I don't know what. And I went on for a few minutes. And then all of a sudden, this was a very unemotional child. He wouldn't cry unless he was hurt.
Right.
All of a sudden, he starts to tear up. And I'm like, oh, what's wrong, Tim? What are you crying about? I'm thinking, finally, he's going to admit he's being a bad boy, you know? And I said, are you upset because you upset your mom? No. Are you crying because you upset me? No. I said, then what are you crying about? He goes, because you said you'd take away my toys. and two things hit me at once when he said that. One, even for a little kid, that was awfully shallow. That toys meant more to him.
I'm going to stop you right there. I kind of disagree. What else are you thinking about when you're 6 other than toys?
True, but also, and in kindergarten, I was sensitive to the fact that I was upsetting my mother and my father.
I was too, I think.
You know, and so that meant more to me, that I knew how much trouble it would be for me to make mom upset. Don't disappoint mother.
No,
right, Lori?
no, God, no.
So and then point 2 is I had an aha moment. I found his weakness. Finally, I know how to get control over him, because we had no clue how to get control over him. So the light bulb went on. I said, okay, Tim, here's what we're going to do. I want you to take all your toys and you line them up from your favorite to the one you like the least. And so he did. He's crying. He's lining up his toys, and I'm putting on my heavy boots. And I said, okay, now where's your favorite one at? He says, at the top. And
He was dumb enough to tell you.
And I said, where's the one you like the least? He pointed over here. So I said, okay. I went to the top of the line to his favorite toy, the one that I had just bought him not an hour earlier, and I crushed it. I smashed
That
it.
is a Russell Allers move.
Really? I'm surprised. Well, I smashed it to pieces. And I said, now, every report I get about you getting in trouble in school, we're going down the line on the toys.
Oh, my
Lori,
God.
But here's the killer.
Okay.
Never got a report about him again. He
No,
stopped.
true.
He stopped acting up in school after that.
Do you think, and I want to get to this Russ thing real fast, but I got a quick question. Do you think Tim would be more like the sons you wish you hadn't, me and Nick, had you been like raising him more? Like, let's say you guys had joint custody. I know you had visitation,
Right.
But let's say joint, like literally half and half. Do you think that would have changed anything, or he's just too much?
No,
his
I
mother's
don't,
kid?
because I think there's just too much going on in his mind, in his brain, that just isn't firing right.
I would argue the exact opposite.
Do you think he has a disability?
You think that it would have helped?
No, I'm saying
Yeah.
Tim has nothing on his mind ever.
I think the disability is that he's half Hammond, his mom's side. You know.
Yeah, I don't think he has a disability. He's got a social thing that we all have, but
it's what I refer to as social retardation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not anything.
That's a common theme in the Allers family.
Yeah,
is a
we're all
common
afflicted
thing.
by that. I can't say all of us.
But I think
Lori's in
ours is a
fucking
little
play.
different. At least mine is more like I'm worried about what people think. Tim seems to be oblivious to it.
You know who Tim reminds me a lot of is our sister Terry.
Oh.
How
Kind
so?
of along those
There's a
lines.
whole
in the fact,
episode.
it's like I said before. Tim wants to be the center of attention without having an act to go with it. And Terry was always that way. Terry would.
She's a 2-bit Nancy Grace.
Right. Myself or Lori would do something to make our parents laugh, just off the cuff. And Terry, to get the same kind of attention, would imitate what we had just done.
God, Tim was so like that.
And Tim's that way.
Tim was
Yeah.
so like that.
I told
and
the
not
Lewis
only that, but
backstory, right?
Terry would try
Same thing.
over and over again to do it and wouldn't get the right reaction. They get upset.
And then get mad. Yeah.
Play Brotherhood.
Make the truth your own.
Yes.
This whole story is incorrect.
Oh, good. Now we got to hear it.
I've told it on the show before. One time I built like a huge foam glider that I learned. It was 6th grade, technology awareness. I can't remember the teacher's
Was
last.
that your last year of school?
No, 8th was
8th grade, yeah.
I can't remember what his last name was, but it was Paul was his first name. I remember
Your
him
teacher?
intimately. Yeah. Anyway,
Creepy.
I made a huge
Yeah, what do
glider,
you mean by intimately?
Creepy.
and Nick just tore it up at the bottom of the stairs one day.
Real nice.
Tim
This
was
is 100%
I'm
true.
sorry. Nick was a bully older brother.
Was I?
Nick was. He didn't realize that I was going to grow up to be so much better than him.
and taller.
And that he'd be begging me to hang out with him. I'm like, you know what, man? I fucking hold a grudge.
Do you still?
Do you hold grudges? I'm pointing at
Lori and Tracy.
but I mean Lori and Tracy. With 5 siblings, it's so weird to me.
Isn't
Never.
Because I only grew up with Nick, who we were so close in age to, and just fucking hated each other.
Our whole growing up, we hung out a lot.
Yeah,
because we had no
to.
other people to
Yeah.
hang out with, but we did hate each other. Like,
even though we still had tons of things in common and stuff like that, there was just something not going right back then. But like, you would never get, like, I picture my dad if he were to get mad at someone much younger than him, like Barry. Like, if Barry's 4,
who is the youngest of 7?
if Barry's 4 and my dad's 21 and my dad's trying to punish him, he's still just your brother. Fuck him.
Yeah.
Right.
But like, if you don't feel any grudges towards him, like, do you feel a closeness? Like, well, he is my brother.
No. What it is,
No.
what it is with me is technically, I guess you could call it a grudge, and it goes back to the respect thing again.
Yeah.
Since we grew up in a house where we weren't allowed to fight and argue and
Expand a little bit on that. You're not allowed to fight.
We had to have peace in the house.
Peace
we
at
would
any
get
price.
We would get in trouble if we had a disagreement and would fight about it. Be it a fist fight, an argument, whatever, it didn't matter. We would get in bigger trouble than what we were fighting about. So, which means we all had to learn to bottle it up
Hold
and
it
hold it all
in.
And so the reason you two have such a good dynamic is because you two were allowed to fight.
Just because
would-
our parents were
right.
fighting so
You
much.
would-
We were doing it all upstairs.
Yeah, they were oblivious.
It was
Right,
awful,
right.
though.
But it was normal. What you guys had was more normal than what we had because it's
Yeah.
healthy.
Within an abnormal environment, we're still
Right,
growing up as
right.
Jehovah's Witnesses, but we're still brothers and fucking punching each other in
because
the
you
face.
guys were only Jehovah's Witnesses in name only, as much as your parents were.
Although
That's
we
all it
weren't
was.
so physical. There weren't that many
No,
fist fights.
But I consider
only because
fighting.
we didn't know to use our fists. Our
Right.
fights were fag fights.
I
Nothing
consider
else.
arguing as fighting, and so the fact that you're able to argue, we weren't even able to do that.
Oh,
we had
okay.
to hide it if
We
were,
still argue quite a bit.
right. We had
Yeah.
to hide it if we were mad at each other. So what you would technically it's a grudge, but what I have is I learned if I can't argue with these people or fight with these people now, I'm not going to have any respect for them. So what happened to me is if I was mad at you, I could easily go 6 months without ever speaking a word to you. And now people know if I don't talk to them, I'm pissed off at them.
We did not learn through example how to handle confrontation.
Right.
How to handle somebody being disagreeable or confrontational, and what do you do with that? I was 17 years old before I even recognized that mom and dad weren't speaking. I had never heard my parents fight at all. And they got into a bit of an argument. They were giving each other the cold shoulder, and I was old enough to discern it. At 17.
Wow.
I was engaged to be married. I had no idea what
At
marital...
17?
Same here.
Yeah.
I
And you
had no clue
you
what I
thought
was
that
getting
married
into.
people don't fight.
No,
Yeah, same
God,
here.
no. So
I
I
had
didn't know
no
how to
clue.
handle it. I couldn't handle Dave being mad at me. I couldn't handle any kind of
That's
of
irresponsible
contention.
It's
parenting, right?
very,
is.
especially
It
with
is.
7 children.
Yeah.
You're putting 7 kids out there like that, and that's just
Yeah.
a terrible, terrible thing to do. It really is.
Yeah. It's fascinating to me sitting here talking to both of you now. We've had you on separately, but like it's interesting. This is the first time we've had a sibling dynamic versus a sibling dynamic,
Right, yeah.
And I realize we're of different generations, but still the same fucked up family.
Yeah.
It
dealt with the
just
same
still
crap.
seems really weird to me that like you guys can sit around and joke with me and Nick, who are brothers. You guys are siblings. You're joking around with each other. But if my dad was here, it wouldn't be like that.
It'd be
at all.
totally different. No,
Unless we railroaded
because
him.
he'd be getting
But
totally,
he wouldn't be sitting there joking
no,
around.
he'd be
No,
getting
no,
totally
no.
defensive about it all.
And he's never
you know?
been that way, though, right?
And see,
Never.
And that's the problem with our family. Not the 4 of us here, but in general, we cannot
Outside of the 4 of
right,
us, though, right?
We cannot have these kinds of conversations. We have to talk about the safe issues, pop culture, whatever. Who's doing what?
With my
who's
dad,
going
I don't
where.
think we
the
could
fucking
have these
weather.
conversations and come out civil at the end or without
Right.
being really, really hurt.
Because somebody's
or-
going to get offended. I mean, I have all these ideas and questions that run through my head, and I want to talk to these people about it, but I can't. The whole Russell thing, here's a guy who you walk into his house with a Stephen King book and he tells you to take it out.
Yeah.
Okay. And all the little details, anything even
Because
close-
demons will come.
even
Right.
even anything.
Literally,
close-
demons will
I believe
come.
in fairy tales.
I told Tracy that story on
Right.
the way here. Like, that's how ridiculous it is.
I don't know that story.
to the point.
We'll tell it.
Yeah, but
go
to
ahead.
the point where it's every little detail, right? So when I get a graduation notice from his daughter, Amy first, then April, I realize that they went to what's that? The Sun Devils school? Is that what it's called out here?
They were
Red
the
Devils.
East Valley.
The
East
East
Valley
Valley
Red
Red Devils. Why did he allow his children to go to a school with the name Devil in it, with a logo on it that
Right.
says Devil?
Interesting side note.
And
that's
I would love
that-
to ask him that, but I
that's-
couldn't dare.
That's where he and his daughter work.
It's at
Oh,
that
yeah, they
school.
were.
Yeah.
You know, why is it you can't say Stephen King, but you can go work for the devil? That's you know.
It wasn't that I couldn't say Stephen King. Here's the story.
I'm just being facetious, but
yeah,
you know.
yeah, of course. Uncle,
Yeah, I don't know the story.
Okay, you were there for it.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. Uncle Russ, we were going as a family. Mom and Dad were still together. I was probably 15 or 16, so you were 14 or 15. And we had gone there to stay for a weekend, and they're very active Jehovah's Witnesses. And our whole family was at least pretending to be at the time.
Yeah.
And so, but the whole ride, that's like a 2.5, 3 hour drive from Tacoma to Yakima. And so this is pre-iPod, and
Yeah.
I didn't want to talk to you because we apparently hated each other our whole growing up. And so I was reading a Stephen King book. It was like, I can't remember what, I think it was the Bachman books. And so
Good
I was,
read.
I was reading it the whole way over there. And then we were bringing all of our stuff inside because we're staying at Russ and Sherry's for the weekend. And I'd been reading this book the whole time, and I was really into it. So I bring the book inside with me, and within 10 minutes of our being there, Russ realizes not only is there a book on my table, but it's fucking Stephen King.
And I need to make a stand right now. I need to do
Was that a
something
pun?
about
Stand?
that. I didn't mean to. I was going to let it go unnoticed. But, you know, I am, like we said earlier, I am the head honcho as far as Jehovah's Witnesses are concerned of this family.
Yeah.
And I think even if you asked non-Jehovah's Witnesses like Dad or something like that, like, you know, if there was like a head of your family, not even a spiritual head, that they would say Russ.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I bring this book inside, and within 10 minutes, like I said, he realizes that it's Stephen King, and Stephen King talks about ghouls and goblins. Oh my God. Because as a Jehovah's Witness, of course, if you're gravitated towards that type of literature or movie or whatever it is, then you're inviting demons, literal demons, into your home.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
You
he asked
have-
me to take it out.
Right.
To
And when
remove
you-
the book from the house.
Oh,
Remove
God,
the book
yeah.
from the
when
house.
you're studying with anybody that you're trying to persuade them to be a witness, I mean, you're telling them that picture of Jesus, that cross on your wall, that little Christmas ornament,
Everything you know.
everything you need to get rid of. You need to get rid of. And then let's say some freaky thing is happening to them, or they just can't make any
The
progress.
TV
or
is turning
whatever.
on or off.
You know, oh, well, you know, could it be, well, do you have anything in your house that could be inviting demons? Well, I got this little present for Christmas from my aunt that lives in Madagascar. Oh, that's
Evil,
it.
evil.
You know, or a letter. You know, once I got this letter from a friend, you know,
It's
the doors started flying open and closed, or something
Fuck
ludicrous
that
like
shit.
It's
that.
kind of like how psychics rube people. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yet
Like
at
it's
the,
all a big fucking ghost story.
Yeah.
Yet at the
Yeah.
same time that he's being told to get his Stephen King book out of the house, what does Russ's wife read constantly?
Crap.
She reads those trashy romance novels.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, really.
You know, that's fine.
But you know what?
That's
I
okay.
gotta be honest with you. It is a hard thing. For as long as I tried to do the whole J-Dub thing, and
Which is a long time.
a very long time, I gotta tell you, it's a real. And you all know this. Well, maybe not you, Trace, but it's a really, really hard thing to purge. And I have to be honest with you. My very first thought when they told me when the women came to me and said, "We want you to be one of the nuns in Nun Sensations," my very first thought was, oh my God, I can't dress up as a nun. I'm living an active lesbian lifestyle, which is so deplorable in the eyes of J. Dubs.
But if something blindsides you like that, it's like, I
Yeah.
can't do
No,
that.
I can't
You're
do
so
that.
used to
I can't
saying,
be a
I'm not
nun.
allowed.
Exactly.
And so then everything. So here I am. I'm in a habit. I'm wearing a crucifix. I'm doing the sign of the cross, and I cannot deny or lie about the fact that ever since I've been doing this, every little weird thing that's been going on, no matter how innocuous, since I've been doing this, my mind goes back to, oh, is it because I'm doing this play? Oh, all the power just went off in the house.
Oh,
Is it because
wow.
I'm doing this play?
You have to get over that.
I know.
Yeah, definitely.
When the power
that
goes off
actress
in my
quit the
house?
show. Is it because I'm doing the play? Oh, it's
Guilt.
Yeah, guilt. Oh, that woman
guilt.
just fell down the stairs. Is it because I'm doing the
But
play?
Lori, you're
Oh, that guy-
so established in so many. I don't
Yeah.
get why. You,
Scully just
it's
landed in the
ingrained.
Hudson River.
'Cause it's
Is it because I'm doing the play?
Yeah. Oh no.
Tracy, you say it's ingrained within her, but it's
It
ingrained
is.
within all of us to a degree.
Yeah.
Like, but the fact that you're still struggling with that, like, I recognize how I grew up and like what I believed for as long as I did and how stupid that is now. But at the same time, like, I don't smoke a cigarette and feel bad about it every time because that's not what Jehovah's Witnesses do.
Right.
Like, I'm over that.
But see, Lori was always a pleaser,
People pleaser.
a
big.
people pleaser. So it hit.
You're pleasing me, Lori.
I'm a
it
purple
was in-
people pleasing eater.
It was ingrained to her more than someone like me who doesn't give a shit about people.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've been that way for a lot longer
Right,
than
right.
the rest
And
of us.
I will always be a people pleaser. I always want to make people happy and do the right thing.
Well, who doesn't? At
Yeah.
least to some
Tracy.
degree.
Tracy doesn't.
Tracy could give a shit.
The opposite makes them happy.
But no, it's taken me a long time to get over that. That demonic influence. You think that.
See, I knew there was no
everything
such
you
thing as demons way
bad
way
you
longer
do
ago.
has a consequence.
They scare kids with that, and I was
Yeah.
frightened as a kid.
Will you tell the story when we were growing up, like the one demon story as a Jehovah's Witness that everybody heard?
That everybody heard.
Yeah.
It was, of course, of a Smurf. Someone
Have you
bringing a
heard this?
Smurf
Have you
into a
heard-
Kingdom Hall.
A
Right.
Smurf plush doll, you should specify.
Right. And
Not
be-
an actual Smurf.
The action figures were okay. You couldn't get through the
and
plastic.
because of the story of Gargamel being evil or whatever the fuck he was.
and
I
Azrael
always
is
hated
fucking
Smurfs.
evil cat.
Right, yeah. That the Smurf gets up and literally walks
So,
out of
yeah.
the congregation.
In a Kingdom Hall.
Amy and April
Yeah,
went out.
a
See,
kid
that
comes-
should never happen.
kid
in
comes into the Kingdom Hall
Where
with
was
a
God's
Smurf
Holy
doll.
Spirit at that moment?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Right? That's
So-
supposed to be the safest place there is.
Yeah.
Russ's
It's
children
a fucking ghost story to scare kids like me into praying every time they jerk off.
Yeah.
And it works.
It worked. It worked for me too. Yeah.
No one should be allowed to be raised a Jehovah's Witness. If you want to be a Jehovah's Witness,
Can we
it's
make
got to
that
be
a
like
law?
after
It
you're
should.
18 years old,
Should.
then you can decide
Yeah.
to be one.
Well, that's
Yeah.
something Richard Dawkins talks
Because then
about.
it's very cultish when you're raised with it forced down.
Probably
your
one
throat.
of the best moves Dave and I ever made.
Dave,
was,
your ex-husband?
Dave, my ex-husband, was that we literally forbade our children to get baptized before they were 18.
Smart.
I know
Oh,
neither one of
very
us
smart.
were.
Very
Meanwhile, your brother's children,
When they were
daughters,
7, 8,
Wait,
9
which-
years
and
old.
he baptized both of them.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about Russ.
Yeah, and they got baptized at 9 or 8
Yeah,
or 11.
and
or
he was
something.
so involved in that
Right.
he did.
But
that.
Dave and I knew they're going to do behavior that young people do, get into trouble, whatnot, and why set themselves up for that kind of forever ostracism?
Right.
If they get caught smoking in public.
Right,
Right.
you're gonna fuck up in high school.
Right.
Which is what got me almost disfellowshipped as a Jehovah's Witness.
Right.
If I were willing to ever make my face known again, it was smoking. It was
Yeah.
literally smoking.
You're gonna do something dumb
Mm-hmm.
as a kid. Why, with all the shit that's gonna come on, and not like you're gonna be totally cool with it, but along with the disappointment from your parents,
Mm-hmm.
whatever school punishment, legal punishment you get, why tack on? Well, now this religion that you of sound mind at fucking 9 years old
Mm-hmm.
agreed to.
Right. And I think one of the things that scared me the most as a woman in the organization was that, let's say that Caleb or Lacey were baptized.
Your son and daughter.
Yeah, they're 15 years old, hypothetically, and Caleb does something that maybe has sex with a girl, smokes cigarettes, gets
How dare
drunk.
he? How
I know.
dare he?
Gets a DUI, whatever.
He
Just-
immediately can't talk to half of his
if
friends.
it's but here's the deal: if it's a disfellowshipping offense, which not all bad behavior is, but if it's a disfellowshipping offense, The elders usurp
God, I wish
my
the
authority
Cowboys would
as
use
a
more
mother.
disfellowshipping
Okay,
offenses.
did you just hear that?
Sorry.
That was my big point, and you were talking. To
I
it.
interrupted it with my tiny joke.
Okay.
Too busy trying to make me laugh.
The
And it worked.
elders usurp your authority as a parent and as a mother, because my son is now a baptized JDAB, and they, the organization, the congregation, and the Lord have more authority over him than I do. So my in-house disciplinary procedures were null and void.
Disgusting.
David and I were not willing to make
word.
that
Disgusting.
leap. So as long as they're not baptized, we have 100% authority over them. The minute they got baptized, our authority was usurped, and we weren't going to do that.
When I got baptized, though, it was my decision at 16, which was too young to make that
Right,
decision.
and it would have been Lacey's too, and that's why we said, no, I'm sorry, you do not have our blessing. You will not get baptized
excellent.
pre-18.
That was excellent
That's
parenting.
the way
Yeah.
it should be.
I need
Yeah.
to use the bathroom if that's okay. I
Yeah.
do have one question. By JW, you mean that stands for...
Jehovah's Witnesses.
What did you witness Jehovah doing? Thank you and good night.
Devil's crowd like bees that were molested.
We could acknowledge our fucking fuck up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
that's true. Maybe we should.
Maybe that would help remind you what you were going to do the next time.
All right. Well, yeah, that's to be honest. If this is the
Yeah,
way we start the
truly.
new segment, we were recording. Anyway, we were recording. We fucked up. We just lost like 15 minutes of hilarity.
Which is awesome.
I was more funny than I'd ever
I
been.
know. Like,
Damn it!
That was the best 15 minutes that we just fucking
I know.
lost. Don't
I
you
know.
think?
I think so.
Yeah, there was some great Nick and PJ stories they missed out on.
There were some things that you submit to podcast award shows, and that would have been
And
it.
that would have been it.
Bar
Damn
none.
us.
Anyway, now we're here and we're lame again.
The gist of it was Nick and I were shitty kids. Everyone fucking hated us. Hey, no wonder we never got invited on that
You were
boat.
just messy. That's all.
And we introed Janine, and Tracy has taken a backseat to Janine. Big of you, sir. Big of a 5'5" man.
Much needed. I'll say it.
I'll say. And introduced her as the best thing that ever happened to Lori. Lori, agree or disagree?
I totally agree.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah, I
that's
totally
the
agree.
safe answer.
Hello, look around you. I got this great house.
Yeah, no kidding.
My car, her cars are in all my names.
Janine, let's
all
get you
her
on
cars
mic.
are in my name.
Janine, let's get you on mic right now. Your house is awesome.
What is it? What do you think about all there's invading your house?
You guys are always welcome. in.
Really?
Of course.
That's so different than the "God, they're fucking freaks" comment that you made upstairs.
I wasn't on mic then.
It's also, to be
no.
fair, true.
You are on mic now. And let's be honest, like, it's a lot coming into this family, right? How long have you and Lori been together?
Going on 3.5 years.
3.5 years. Okay.
And you've met plenty of family in that time.
Way too many. Yeah.
Grandma.
Right.
Have you met Grandma?
I had the pleasure of a few minutes with Grandma.
Lori's mom.
Until she
Our
forbade
grandma.
you from her home and ever again.
That's
That
awesome.
would be true.
Yes. You guys are rolling around together.
God, gross.
Wasn't that her exact quote? What was it again?
She said the thought of you and Janine rolling around in bed together having sex makes me sick to my stomach.
And that's not a take away from your attractiveness, either of you.
Well,
It's
it
just
begs
the
the
fact that you're
question.
lesbians.
You're
It
right.
begs the question that the thought of you and your ex-husband rolling around in bed
She
together.
must have
what
found
did that
pleasure
do
in
for her?
that.
Yeah.
So
I
But the thought
enjoyed
of she
thinking
and-
about that.
The thought of she and Jim rolling in bed together
Oh,
is
gross,
such a pleasant thing
gross.
to think
yeah.
I will never have an erection
Just to
again.
catch,
Thank you for that,
just to
Janine.
catch the listener up, my grandma weighs about 30 pounds and is married to a 400-pound
Fucker.
controlling fucking behemoth.
How is Grandma still alive at 80?
I don't
weighing
know.
30 pounds.
I remember when she was getting married and she would always talk about looking forward to mounting Jim.
You know what was the weirdest?
Literally saying things like climbing up there and having fun.
Gross. Gross. You don't want to hear sex stories from your grandma, first of all.
Yeah.
But, Lori, we've talked about this, haven't we? When she was so obsessed with Jim looking enough like Grandpa that that's why it made sense, to the point where we'd be at the Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses, and all of a sudden I'm dating and marrying this guy at 70-something years old, and look how much he looks like my old husband who died in 1986.
He sounds like Bud. He looks like Bud. He
Right.
walks like Bud. It's Bud.
Yeah. Let
Yeah.
me put Bud's picture up to Jim.
Uh-huh.
And like she would actually have people compare. Like
She
Right.
like
this is a
had
picture
two
I've had in my
pictures.
wallet for 20 years now
Uh-huh.
of my husband who died, which is
that I
unfortunate.
loved
because,
more than anything.
And he was your dad, right?
Yeah, but Alice loved him.
Did you really not know?
I knew.
Alice loved him to death, and then she marries this fucker.
Yeah, this idiot who needed a nurse. So
Oh,
he,
sure.
Oh, they're both overweight.
the
They
only
must be
reason-
the same person.
and
She's
correct
the
me
only
if I'm
reason he's
wrong.
still alive.
He forbids you from the house. Is it?
He
is it-
forbids us from
Yeah.
the house. Yeah, because Janine's a lesbian.
Yeah.
She never told me.
And let's catch the listeners up. There's some lesbian action going on here. A girl from my work met you guys at a lesbian party. That's how I found
Are
out.
there lesbian parties? What's involved in that? I want to be there.
Yeah, nothing.
Every
Beer.
man's fantasy.
Pillow fights, lingerie
Scantily
parties.
clad women.
Yeah.
Gotta be. Yeah.
And we all look like we walked right off the set of L Word.
Yeah, right.
I've never met a lesbian that looks like anybody off of L Word.
Well, thank God
Okay.
for some of them. Some of those chicks are fucking ugly.
No. Yeah, anyway. So part of what we missed earlier, we were talking about the foster touch, the fact that Nick thought all of his clumsiness and awkwardness came
Right.
from the Allers. It's the Fosters, which I have the foster
This
touch.
was contained
The-
within the lost footage, right?
Yes.
Foster's is our grandma Alice
Grandma
was
Alice's.
Alice Foster,
Yeah.
and your dad, our grandpa, married into
Right.
that family.
And my mother was real clumsy, is real clumsy, and so Dad dubbed it the foster touch. And that made me think of when I hooked up with Janine, who has the most beautiful home and antiques and flawless vehicles and memorabilia and everything
A great
valuable.
basement.
And then I walked into her house, and what's the first thing I did? Do you remember?
You're talking about
Let me
the
just
first
remind
time that
you
you were
with-
here?
No, the first huge foster faux pas.
Okay.
When you wrecked the Jeep.
When I wrecked the
Yeah.
Jeep. How long have you had said Jeep?
Since it was new in 1995.
Nin-
You wrecked her
1995.
Jeep, Lori?
And tell
Where
that
nobody
story.
else on earth ever could.
Let's
On
hear,
my-
the,
on my
let's hear the
gate.
story. I don't know the story.
Okay, so I'm coming out to her place, and why was I driving the Jeep? Because I had wrecked the Audi that belonged to Dave. No, that wasn't my fault though. But anyway, so I was borrowing her Jeep. I'm following her into her driveway, which is about an eighth of a mile drive from the driveway to the house, and she's ahead of me, and I don't come to the driveway. I don't pull into the garage. Don't pull in the garage. She's wondering what in the world happened to me, and you got to open the gate, get out of the car, open the gate, get back in the car, pull the car through the gate, get out, shut the gate behind you, and then
Yep.
come in. So it's a
I
bit
had
of
to
a
do that
process
today.
anyway.
But now I had opened it and left it open. for
She had
you.
opened it and left it open.
The
So
early
then-
stages of love.
So then I pull through the gate, and I thought I threw the car into park, but I threw the car into reverse. But as I threw the Jeep into reverse, I hop out of it. So I hop out, simultaneously throwing it into reverse. So I'm out of the car, and the Jeep is rolling backwards. And we live on the highway. And so the gate and the door hit each other, and I jump back into the car and throw it into park, and I'm like, whew, that was a close one because it could have rolled out onto the highway. I go to close the door and it won't close. I totally fucked up the door. I pull into I come to the house and I'm crying because I don't know her yet well enough to know how she handles tragedy. And I'm crying, and she goes, "What?" And I go, "I wrecked the Jeep." She goes, "What the fuck? You were behind me the whole way." I wrecked the Jeep. Where? In the driveway. And I did what? $2,500
Oh, yeah.
damage to the
Really?
Jeep.
2,500?
Yeah.
Is that forgivable?
That is the very first time I ever had to claim any insurance ever since, let's see, I was 16, I believe. Yeah.
And then you say, "I'm in love." Thank God.
No,
That
I
is-
think I said, "What have I gotten myself?"
And then you
into?"
start meeting family, and it gets a little bit worse.
And then I
right?
said again, "What have I gotten myself into?"
Right. Let me ask you about this, Janine. Okay, this I recognize this is an odd situation. Like, it's me and PJ, which we've been hanging out together for a while. But Lori, I don't see as often. And now Tracy's here, and we've already established the hermit crab that he is. And so, like, to have all of us together, and, like, we're obsessed with talking about family, right?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. And you've listened to the podcast before.
Oh, many of them.
Okay.
Almost all.
That's a little scary.
Comforting and scary.
So, what do you think? I mean, you and Lori have been together 3.5 years. What's your family compared to our family? I guess, like, are you as obsessed with how fucked up our family is as we are?
Oh, of course not.
No, of course you wouldn't be, right?
No.
Yeah,
Of course not.
But you listen to our podcast. That's basically what it is.
It's entertainment.
Yeah. Okay. Is it?
Sure.
Is it because you're like, oh, thank God my family's not this way?
Oh, some of it, sure.
Yeah, it would have to be.
It lends a whole new definition to the word normal. Normal's not a term I use a lot, but it makes my family look pretty normal.
So tell us a little about your family then.
Oh, family. I have 4 siblings. I'm number 2. My parents have been together for 55 years,
Wow.
54
Still
or
together.
55
Still
years.
together?
Still together. And I have an older sister and 2 younger brothers and a younger sister. And really, I have pretty much nothing but good to say about all of them.
They celebrate the holidays. They have great memories.
they
It's amazing. It seems amazing to me that
They-
you have nothing negative to say about your
they
family.
totally embrace,
Especially now that you have a
us.
microphone in front of you.
They are-
Like,
they-
say everything you ever wanted to say. That's what we do.
I don't. I really don't.
No,
They
and-
they treat me fabulously, and
That's
I hope
awesome.
that they would say the same about me.
That's the life right
I'm sure
there.
they would. I'm
Yeah.
sure they would.
That's normal.
So, let me ask you something personal then, Janine. So Lori has had, since she came out as a lesbian and has been with you, like, that's tougher for her, especially growing up in the religion we did, obviously. Your parents, I guess what I'm asking is, have you always been open, or...
My family was a little bit like the military. What my parents, not my siblings. My siblings, when I told them, it was simply, well, geez, Louise, we've known that for years. I'm glad you finally know it. And then with my parents, it was kind of, for many years, it was kind of the don't ask, don't tell policy.
Okay.
And but now,
Which is
It's
fair enough.
sure it is.
sure, yeah.
it
If
is.
that's the way you deal with things, you're from an older generation.
I get that, but
and-
don't shun your family for
Right.
that decision.
Obviously.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean, truly now it's pretty much an open conversation between my mother and myself. My dad is, I'm sure, known longer than my mother has known, for sure,
That's
but-
interesting, though, because they've been together that whole time.
Certainly, but I worked with my father for 21 years side by side with
Okay,
him. So,
okay.
we have a special bond, and there's nothing he doesn't know about me. And
Gotcha.
so,
Gotcha.
But it's truly
Does
my
he know
mother
what a
that
klutz
I...
lorry is?
No, there's some things I keep from my family.
I also ruined her Honda. That's
Yeah,
a
she
whole
wrecked
nother
my
episode.
beautiful car yes, she wrecked another one of my cars.
Really?
So, yeah. Oh, yeah.
More than one?
Oh,
It
yeah,
didn't
two.
wreck it.
Lori, just
It just rattles
I think
now.
that's what you said in tears. I wrecked your car, if I remember correctly, when you
You
came to
love
confess.
me.
Obviously, I do.
you obviously do.
Yes, obviously.
Why else would you allow her to live here in this awesome house?
I know.
I'm not sure, because she irons my clothes every single week.
Sunday.
And more than that, why else would you be talking to a microphone right now?
That would be true.
Putting yourself out here.
Let me ask you this, Janine. Do you consider me and PJ nephews? Do you
Of course I do.
What an
call you my
awkward
nephews.
question.
Yeah. I put her on the spot there.
No,
I
would
recognize
say,
that.
I would say no.
You
That would
would
not
say
bother
no?
me to say no, if that's the way I felt.
Okay.
I've referred to you as, well, I certainly have referred to you as my nephew, just because I simply talk about
You're
PJ
talking to
more
PJ
because,
right now. Yeah.
Yes.
Because he's here in town.
Well, and
Right.
because his daughter is our niece.
Right.
Right.
So that's, so I certainly would say, well, he's my nephew's daughter, or she is, Sophie's my nephew's daughter.
Right.
So that's, so certainly I do.
Are
so you should be
guys?
expecting Christmas gifts out of her now.
Oh, that's.
Are we
good.
guys what?
Are you trying to turn her into a lesbian, my daughter?
I can already,
I get that
I can
vibe.
already see it, PJ.
She has
yeah.
come home with like flannel shirts with
And
sleeves cut off. I just don't know what's going on.
That's it.
And you guys need to quit cutting her hair.
And we make
we're
her
trying to
those
make it grow
mullets.
long.
You don't like the mullets, and we make her watch the L Word too. Yeah.
This is sickening.
Unusable.
Yeah. We are. Shoot.
To imagine my daughter rolling around on the floor while you guys are upstairs rolling around in bed
Honey.
sickens me.
We're grooming her. Get over it. We're grooming her.
Okay, I have a question. Assuming that all gay people think alike and know everything. That's correct, right? Recently, someone put Nick's picture on Craigslist in a male for male chat room.
I don't know if you guys have heard about this.
I did. We did hear
He
about it.
got shitloads of text messages and stuff. If we were gay, would it be much easier? Is it much easier for gay men to get laid
You can go to any rest stop.
and find somebody, right?
You have your own little code.
Well, you
your
could
own
go to
little
any
man
rest stop
rubs.
and find any whore to blow you to for money, but
Right.
Jay.
There are parks in Seattle that if you want to take a nooner, you can walk in through a park in downtown Seattle.
What's a nooner?
A nooner?
Yeah.
At
can
noon.
imagine.
Walk us through it.
I've never done
Having
it in the
sex
park.
at noon. That's what
I didn't
comes
mean
to
to
my
accuse
mind.
you.
Could you imagine walking through this park where everybody is like, go there if you want this, go there, and still everyone just walks by and pretends not to see you?
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I think my gay life would be.
Yeah. Gay men. Yeah, I'm not a huge authority on gay men, but
It kinda
not a
seems
lot
like
of-
they have no
Not a lot of
standards.
fidelity there. No.
But let's not generalize.
No, that's
I mean,
true.
I
Yeah,
have
we can't.
some dear friends of mine have been together for I believe that they're going on 30 years.
Yeah. Oh,
which they were at the play last night.
Yeah, I saw
Did
them
you
at
see
the
'em?
play. Yes.
Yeah.
None
they-
sensations.
Non sensations.
Yes.
Whatever theater. Warehouse.
Warehouse.
Yeah.
But no, not all men are like that. I mean, there's whore lesbians. There are whore gay males.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
it's simple.
Yeah.
And there are some that are really into fidelity. So
But yeah.
Well, I'm not even talking about getting with like a guy in a committed relationship.
No, if you
I'm
just
just talking
want
about
it.
like if I go to a bar the same way if I was single, guys go to bars to pick up women. Would I be more successful?
oh, bingo.
In a gay
Yeah.
bar?
Oh, God.
in a
yeah.
heartbeat.
Why
Sure.
is that?
Is it
though?
just because there's so much more open to everything that it's not all
It's
about
very
like I gotta get
non-committal.
a
lot
guy
of it's
that looks like
non-committal,
this?
What's the, good question.
Boy, the reason I'm not
It's just
exactly
with,
sure.
No, with abandon. It's just sex with abandon, kind of just.
Some certainly are.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest male whores I have ever met are gay males.
Yeah.
You know, they certainly are.
Me too. By the way.
Yeah. But I don't really know why that is. Maybe it's because the population's smaller than the other population, and you go to find what you can. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know.
I get hit on a lot at gay bars.
David got
Really?
hit on a lot by gay men too.
Well,
Yeah.
you're in a
I
gay
really wish
bar.
I had even a slight gay inclination.
if you're in a gay bar, expect to get hit on, honey. What are you doing in a gay bar?
I really would.
I was hanging out with friends, Lori.
Oh, okay.
I'm not gonna lie. I have thought stuff like that. Like, forget being married and stuff like that. But like, as far as sexual experimentation goes, if only I could get into the idea of being with a guy, then just how much more would I be able
That's
to do?
exactly it. And that's,
How much more open would my eyes be? How much more would I be able to experience?
and that's what my Craigslist experience was. Like, all these gay guys want to hook up with me based on this one bullshit MySpace picture, you
Yeah.
know?
Right.
And like, that really would open up my world if I were into that. And
Right.
nothing.
But could you tell me right now, if you had somebody going down on you right now, would you really care whether it was a man or a
It depends
woman?
on if my eyes are open or closed.
Right.
No, I really think, and I'm going to be honest. Nick and I have talked about in previous episodes about being kids and fearing that we were somehow involuntarily gay, just because we were learning that was the wrong
Right,
thing to
it's
be.
so
What a good
He-
episode that
Hannah's-
was.
But no, I really, I'm going to be honest. I've sat down and I thought about it, and I do think that there is just something inside of me that 100% would not allow that. You know, like it would in no way. I find men so unattractive. I can recognize. I wish I could say this guy is a really fucking good looking guy, just in the sense that
Exactly.
the tail I could get if I looked like him. You know that's
Right.
all I think. but
I agree with you, TJ.
Just like there's something, in certain guys to where like they don't find women attractive in the slightest bit.
Right.
That is the way I feel about guys. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I wish I was at least a little bit something. Give me something else to fantasize about. Something else,
Yeah.
whatever. It would just open doors for me. But no, to be
Keep
honest,
it from
no.
being monotonous. Yeah, I agree with you.
Maybe it's because I saw my brother and my dad naked so often growing up.
What? In the
We
same
used to
room?
bathe together, so don't act like that never happened.
Me and you and Dad.
Well, practically, Dad would fucking walk around the house with his dick hanging out.
That's true.
Stop.
Oh.
Non-stop. A power
TMI.
play. We've talked about that as a power play.
Is that a power
Look at my
play?
uncircumcised cock and fear me.
Yuck. Did you just say cock in our house? You're lucky to even be in our house. We don't do men in this house. Have
We
you
don't
noticed?
do men at all.
Yeah, we don't do men at all. But
But say, okay, one back to the gay male again. Let's not forget one thing. There are a huge amount of men who do the cruising that are with women.
Right.
And there's such a stigma, still the stigma I think is a little bit stronger for a gay male than it is for a gay female. And so there's so many men that cruise that go home to a woman at night. And so that's another thing. Hey, let's do whatever we can get done in the next 20 minutes because
Yeah.
I got to go home to my wife tomorrow, in 20 minutes, whatever the case
And
may
do
be.
you think that that's not like as guilt-inducing in their head because they're not cheating on their wife with another woman? I know that the woman
Sure.
would like to hear it more that, well, at least I cheated on you with a guy. Like, that's not going to make it better. But at least in his own head, it's like, this is literally something my wife can't give me.
Certainly. And
Like-
and I know women that do the same thing,
Yeah.
that have done the same thing. I mean, I mean, somebody I know will say that they never cheated on their husband with another man.
Right,
But
yeah.
might that be me?
that could be but did every woman that could possibly, she
Every
could,
woman?
well, whatever, everyone that you could get, yes. I think that's correct. But she can look herself in the mirror and say she never cheated on her husband. I mean,
Yeah,
right,
With
well,
a man.
with a man.
That's
right.
something. And I hate to bring up examples like this because it just really shows how much thought I've put into it. But I have asked my wife, like, if I cheated on you with a guy, would that mean as much to you? And it absolutely would to her.
Oh,
and
wait.
then,
It would.
And then, of course, she questions me for 5 days about why did I ask her that question? Did I cheat
Are
on
you
her with a
having
man?
those feelings?
You're
Yeah.
freaking her out.
Right.
And that's weird. That's interesting because for me, the last girl that I dated, Pincushion, she
Pincushion?
That's the code name we use.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're afraid
Gotcha.
to use real
Okay.
names.
Yeah. Anyway, when I was dating her, two things happened in the time that we were dating, which was 8 months. One was that she kissed a guy at a party.
Bye, Janine. Thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. I have something I have to attend.
Okay. Is Tracy back on mic now?
As long as we're switching mics, somebody is rubbing their mic a
Oh,
lot. I can
it might
hear
be
it.
me.
It's
It
you
might
as
be
you were
me.
giving the example.
Listen,
PJ.
I hate to be abrupt too, but one of the things we got to go to is a what do you call it?
A vigil.
A vigil.
A vigil.
I was going to say a village.
It takes-
And I
Say
hate
hello to
be
Joaquin
Is
Phoenix
this really
for me.
bad timing to just walk out on this?
No, if you gotta
No?
go, we gotta go. We can tie a little bow on it real fast.
Tie a little bow on it.
Or we could just keep going with Tracy.
Yeah, that's true
Yeah.
too.
I'm back.
So
Drinking my
Tracy's
beer.
we'll
back.
continue this now that
This
Well,
is the
we'll
most
tie-
chaotic episode we've ever had. by the way.
Yeah, this is, but it's still really fun. We'll tie a bow on the Lori part. We'll take a break, and,
Okay.
then we'll come back with.
But
what
this
Trace
won't be
may
the
say.
last time we have Janine on. She really is.
No, she's
I think that's
fascinating.
not your call, and I think it's mine, and I think it is last time.
Really?
What do you think about that?
Well, I'm 50%.
I'm offended.
There-
might
there's
have
not
to
even
wreck one
any
of
real
your cars.
reason. It's just because you said it. I want to combat it.
Okay, sorry. If you are so inclined to invite her back, I hope that she comes back.
Not
She does
allowed.
have some interesting take on our family stories, I'll tell you that. She tells me, and I was thinking about this earlier, whenever she has me, when we were talking about religion, and, you sit down and you have a Mormon tell you exactly why they think the way they think, which I've done, and why they believe the way they believe. And I, as a J-Dub in the past, was going, oh God, that sounds absolutely ludicrous. How could you believe that? It sounds ludicrous. Well, now I'm on that side. And the other day we were sitting in the hot tub, Janine and I, and we're looking around the sky, and it's really beautiful at night. And I think she brings up the word Armageddon and then wants me to explain it to her. And as I'm explaining it to her, I'm thinking, this is
Ben Affleck.
absolutely ludicrous. This is
Yeah.
absolutely ridiculous.
This is a
and so to have
children's
her
story.
perspective as an outside member, looking into the window of Allers-ism and J-Dub-ism and all of the isms that
It
that you
opens
can
your
think of.
mind so much.
Yeah.
And in a way that we were never allowed
Yeah.
to before.
Better
She
than
could be
peyote.
a she
Yeah,
could be a
better than peyote.
real wealth of entertainment. If you so choose to have her back, PJ, I won't use her for that decision. But it's really
okay.
interesting to have her take on things. So thank you for inviting her. Thanks for inviting us both.
Thank you for having
Now
us.
we got to
in
do
your
our
house.
Catholic obligations.
You leave the house. We're gonna play the Wii.
Okay, very good then. All right, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Play Brotherhood.
Stay awake, stand firm, grow mighty.
Nick,
Yeah.
how come your dad doesn't swallow?
Is that what's going on? Is it that he doesn't swallow?
Well, I figured we'd already been talking about the gay topics. And,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, what a question. What a question.
Your dad always talks with a rattle in his voice, and I'm assuming
It's more than a rattle, Tracy.
You know,
It sounds
we
like
never noticed it.
It sounds like a throat full of phlegm. I always think every time he talks, would you please just fucking swallow
Yeah.
and stop talking sound in the voice? What the hell is it with that?
That's what it sounds like, but I don't think that's what it is. Like, he swallows on an everyday basis, I'm sure,
As much as anybody.
as much as anybody. So it's not just that. It's
Who's
not like
looking
he
for a
can
neuter?
swallow and not sound like he's coughing up a lung all the time. I don't know what it is about his voice. And in fact, I tried to confirm earlier, but apparently this isn't fact. But PJ, tell me if you remember this. One time Dad said the reason that his voice is as weird as it is because when he was a teenager, he hit himself in the face with a ski somehow. And like it knocked up his voice box.
I don't remember that.
Let me ask
story.
you, Tracy. And my dad's voice
I never thought Dad had a weird voice
until people started pointing it out.
right.
to
It
us.
was pointed out constantly.
Yeah. Tracy, has my dad always had a weird voice?
Not that I can remember. I think it to
But
me.
were
it-
you just used to it too?
No, to me it seemed like it got more pronounced as he got older, and to me I thought he was just being lazy and not. I mean, we talked about it earlier, the drooling issue.
Yeah.
So I figured maybe he just wasn't. He was being lazy and letting a mouthful of saliva.
Actually,
build
I think
up.
that might have been in the part that I got cut out. But
Oh,
I used to drool.
Right, that's right. We talked about.
I used to drool pretty badly.
Yeah.
PJ Slobber Pussallers.
He had to wear bibs to catch it so the clothes wouldn't get bad. So anyway, no, I thought maybe that was the thing with your dad, that he's just getting a mouthful of spit and not swallowing, and therefore it would get more and more rattly as the shit was vibrating in the back of his throat.
Right.
And it seemed to me that as the older he got, the more pronounced it was. So I just thought he was being lazy.
I can say Dad swallowed because I remember very specifically hearing the sound.
Gross.
And then you hear the swishing it around in his mouth sound, and then you hear the.
Oh, and while we're on that, does he still lick his mustache all the time?
Who knows? I don't look at the guy
He's
anymore.
always licking his mustache.
I never have to see him anymore.
If I am looking at him, I'm not looking at his mustache. That's for damn sure.
He's not doing it in the lame ass forward. You might be a redneck if joke emails he's sending me.
Our dad sends us some bogus forward emails. Anyway, going back to his voice, PG and I, we grew up with the guy. Like, he was our dad from day one. And so, like, his voice was his voice. And it was scary and it was intimidating because he was a scary and intimidating guy. But we didn't recognize it as weird until I remember, I'm going to call him by first and last name. And I know we don't do that anymore. But
Yeah.
Tim Langford, he was a middle school friend. And I think he, at least at one time, listened to the show. So
He definitely did at one point. He
shout
might
out
still.
to Tim Langford if he's listening.
MySpace name Timpy.
I was in, way to give that away. I was in 7th or 8th grade and I'd met him through school and he came to hang out. And the first time he met our dad, he introduced himself and blah, blah, blah. There was like a 2-minute conversation. And then we were going out to the backyard and he asked me, he said, "So your dad's deaf, right?" Like, he has a voice of a deaf man. And the other thing I remember about Dad's voice and it standing out to people is whenever, even as we were little kids, other little kids our same age would hang around Dad, and they would say to him at some point, because kids have no tact,
Right.
And so they would say, literally, "What's wrong with your voice?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And Dad tells me stories about how he'll be on a work phone call, and it turns out the guy that he had to have some communication with, he knew 20 years ago in some other way, and the guy instantly knew it was Dad, whether he's identified himself by name or not on the phone, because our Dad's voice is so distinctive.
Yeah.
And not in a flattering way.
I have the same issue because people will recognize my voice after all these years.
But you don't sound like this.
True, unless I'm coming.
My dad sounds like he's always coming, yes.
But,
Which sucks because when I make my cum noises, it means I'm always thinking of Dad while I'm coming.
So then maybe you are just a little bit gay. Go look for that nooner now. But you know, of the four of myself and my three other brothers, it's Russ that's got basically the golden tone, the speaker's voice.
I
Yeah.
guess.
And, you know, he got that where myself and Scott and Barry didn't do it. I've tried to work on mine through the years. I've actually worked on a little bit just hearing myself back on this podcast. You know, that it can come across kind of grating, and if I laugh, a little lecherous even. And according to some Twitter people, but, you know, hey, I'm working on that.
If that was in the part that got cut out, I repeat, fuck you, Twitter.
It wasn't the part that cut out, that's why I throw just a little bit of that back in. But
let's keep referencing the thing that was cut out.
yeah, that way we don't have to make up for it later.
There's a lot in that 12 minutes.
Yeah.
But no. So now I know there's probably just a slight explanation to it, you know, because I just thought he was being lazy, and maybe it is. Maybe all the other excuses is bullshit, and he's just not swallowing.
Yeah, I don't remember anything about him getting hit in the face with the ski. I don't think that
Me
would
neither.
explain it.
I mean, he didn't go skiing that much.
Yeah, really.
It only takes one time to get hit in the face with a ski, though. To
Yeah, but
ruin
why
your
would
voice
it?
box
But why
forever.
would? But get hit in the face isn't close to. I mean, your voice box is in your fucking neck.
That's true.
You know,
So he has no excuse for as scary as he is.
No, what's that? All bark, no bite.
The
Some shit like
voice
that.
was scary as a kid. When it's so weird because he's such a pussy now, but to hear him be like, Patrick,
Yeah. Sure,
Very
it was very
scary.
intimidating. Not only
come
that,
watch
but
me
you got,
swallow a loogie.
gross. Quit going with it. We may have told this story before, and I apologize if so, but like another key, a defining thing about Dad and how we knew Dad was just around the corner. And I can think about us being at like Kmart or something, and Dad was always an intimidating figure to us. And then so we'd be at Kmart or whatever, and Dad would be in 2 rows over, but we knew he was on his way and that we had to be on our best behavior because we could hear his fucking keys bouncing off of his hips.
He wore like
Yeah, that
janitor
zip
keys.
keychain.
Yeah, he had the
Yeah.
keys hooked to his keys, or he had the keys hooked to his belt, and so they would just bounce off of his hip as he was walking. And we always knew the jingle of the keys meant Dad was coming. Dad was coming.
He always had a shitload of keys.
yeah.
Too.
What is that? He's not a janitor.
Yeah. who
No,
knows
he
what
never
all those
aspired
keys
to
are
get
for.
that high up in life.
Certain trunks around the house of porno magazines and stuff like that, I'm
Probably.
sure. Probably
Yeah.
some underground lair.
So now that he's with Debbie, I'm sure he's only got 3-4 keys now.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly
so-
right.
By Debbie
What are all these keys for?
Excuse me, Neckfurter.
Neckfurters, episode 9. Hear about our stepmom.
Black Brotherhood, Nick are out of control. They would crash the airway to the microphone. So sit down tight and listen close. All the ladies now take off your clothes. Black Brotherhood. Black Brotherhood.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 3, 4, 5. Let me know if it works. Bye.